NCAA tournament into round number 2. Apparently that is a difficult task for at least half of the 3 seeds. Well, we'll see if Baylor wins, and it'd be 3 of the 4 because Illinois played yesterday. That's right. Illinois, Morehead State. It was close for a little bit, but Illinois pulled away, and Creighton took care of business against Akron. The other 3 seed that played yesterday did not take care of business against Oakland, which we will get into and talk about from a bigger picture standpoint. Let's start with the Kansas Jayhawks, and they get the win over Samford last night. And boy, if you're a KU fan, that was not a final 7 minutes of basketball to watch. That was turbulence, and the landing gear is stuck, and everybody is holding on, and it's prepare for a bumpy landing, and you're sort of saying your prayers while just holding on, and then it lands safely, and you go, okay, all right. Hey, everybody, you clapping. All right, we did it. We did it, everybody. Okay, we landed. We're not, we no longer have to text our friends and everything during it. Just saying, done. Losing this game. I'm going to lose this game. With about 5 minutes to go in the UK-Oakland game, texting like, UK's done. UK's losing this game. They are absolutely toast. I never felt that way with KU last night, even as Samford got close and close and close. For some reason, like it didn't have that same feel that you had watching the UK game. Those that were watching UK and Oakland lead into then the KU game against Samford. It was a different feeling because KU was holding Samford off at bay. Like they were keeping them at arm's length. Whereas the exact opposite was going on with Oakland. Oakland was just outplaying the other team, and the other team looked scared. Kentucky looked scared and nervous. Kansas didn't look that way throughout the game. Kansas looked like a confident team. They got razzled a little bit, frazzled in the second half, last 5 minutes or so. But they didn't turn the ball over in the second half the way they did in the first half. Like that's where, Samford hit a bunch of threes in the second half, and they were, doing some great things offensively. And a guy hits 4 threes that typically doesn't knock down shots, doesn't even attempt threes, and he hits 4 of them. Samford also, wasn't necessarily hitting free throws, but KU wasn't playing terrible. They weren't just throwing the ball away. They only had 6 turnovers in the second half. Like, you could think of the entire game and some bad turnovers that were taking place. A lot of those were in the first half. In the second half, they were taking care of the basketball. They were getting good shots. I mean, they scored 45 points in the second half. They didn't go out there and score 20, and Samford made this crazy comeback from being down 21 because Kansas couldn't score. They scored 45. Quick math, that's a 90-point pace. So they were protecting the basketball. They weren't turning it over. And look what happens. Even bad shots better than turnovers. And Samford wasn't getting as many, clean, open, breakaways. And they weren't getting a lot of those in the first half either. But the difference between the first half and the second half, like Samford scores 38 in the first half, scores 51 in the second half, they were starting to hit their shots. Had they done that in the first half, we're talking about a different game. If a play here or there happens differently down the stretch at the end of the game, yeah, we might be talking about a different result right now. Who knows? Yes, the clean block is talked about and should be talked about because it was a clear and obvious mistake by the official. He anticipated the call. It was as great of a block as I think I've seen when you throw in maybe LeBron in Game 7 chasing down Iguodala. But that's also LeBron. This is a guy that plays for Samford. Sorry. I mean, it's a little bit of a difference, LeBron's 6'10 and 250 and can jump out of the gym. This guy plays for Samford. No offense. None taken. All that being said, you play for Samford. All right. So phenomenal block, phenomenal chase down, and the official got it wrong. He missed the call. It happens. It sucks. Does it happen more for KU? Certainly it seems that way. But when you've got the better team more often than not, you might get some calls that go your way because you might just simply be the better team. Like in the UK Oakland game, Greg Camphy was complaining about free throws, and they weren't getting a lot of, or maybe who was it that was doing it? It might have not been him. Regardless, I think it was that it was like, well, we're not getting any free throw attempts. They're getting all these free throw attempts. It's like, yeah, but they're pounding the ball inside. Like, it's a different matchup. Like, they are going inside and getting fouled, and you are shooting a bunch of shots from behind the arc. So there's a difference in what the free throw disparity will be. And that's part of, officiating as well. It was not a foul. We know that. Everybody can acknowledge that. It's just odd that it was a clean block that was called a foul, because typically I'm used to KU fans having a foul that was called a clean block. I don't know what I'm referencing. Doesn't matter at all. But look, it was a missed call. It happens. It sucks. Samford should have had the opportunity to have a 5-on-4 with 14 seconds left, down by 1. Do they win? I have no idea. No clue. But also, don't fall behind by 21. Should the Chiefs had an opportunity against the Green Bay Packers on the road when MVS was clearly pass interfered? Yes, they should have had an opportunity. Does it mean they would have scored and got a 2-point conversion and won in overtime? I don't know. But they should have had the opportunity. But don't fall behind to the Packers. Don't fall behind by 21. And we can get into, and we can talk about the, reviews, and I am in agreement with, we review all these things at the end of the game that are meaningless, but maybe the biggest play that had an impact on the game, you can't go back and replay it. You can't do that. It is difficult on one side to say, oh my God, the ending of these games are brutal. We're reviewing everything. We're reviewing whether it's a flagrant one. We're reviewing if it was out of bounds. Like, every out of bounds call, it feels like immediately the ref goes, all right, let's review it. If it's under 2 minutes, every out of bounds call is going to get reviewed. It's unbelievable. And it shouldn't take that much time. Like, the play that Elmarko Jackson made was an obvious out of bounds off Samford. Look at it. Move on. We don't have to take 3 minutes. That's the problem. Is, for whatever reason, the officials go over there and think it's the Zapruder film to see if there was a second shooter on the grassy knoll that it may have been out of bounds off of. You made a call. If it's not clear and obvious, go with the call. Let's move on. Because those issues make it to where if something like this happens in a game, it's easy to dismiss and go, well, it's dumb. You can't have more replays because we're already complaining about replays. No, we're complaining about the length of replays. I don't mind officials getting it right. I would rather it get called correctly. But there was a game in the conference tournament, and I don't remember which game, but I'm sitting there watching it, and you could not tell. It was so indistinguishable between which hand touched the ball last. And I put a stopwatch on it. 4.5 minutes. It was like 4:37 to be honest with, to be exact. They stared at that video over and over. And you know what they did? They went with the call on the floor. That's not how this was supposed to be. That's the problem. It's okay to go and get it right. It's not okay to spend an hour over there wasting everybody's time when we all can see what happened. We're all watching the same thing. We're not dumb. We all watch a lot of basketball, no matter who you root for. We all watch a lot of basketball. We know who touched it last. And we're watching going, all right, let's go. Come on, what are we doing? The people in the arena are seeing replays as well. They know who it's off of. Let's go. Come on, let's get the game going. Well, you got to look at the clock and everything. Come on. The clock stopped when it went out of bounds. Now we're just arguing over who it's out of bounds on. We saw who was out of bounds on. Because of that, then it's easily dismissed and say, well, you can't replay these things. Could you implement a challenge system? Yeah, you could. Samford might have used their challenge already. They might have used it earlier. They got challenges in the NFL. Coaches in the fourth quarter sometimes don't have challenges left because they used them earlier. They've got it in the NBA. Doesn't mean, with 15 seconds left that the challenge has already been used or they still have that. So could they do that? Yeah. Would it have changed last night? I don't know. Here's a better solution, though. Get the call right. That's the better solution. Just get the call right. Call what you see. I'd rather there be a foul that wasn't called a foul because you simply didn't see it. You can only call what you see. He clearly didn't see a foul because there wasn't one. But it doesn't, and it should not, take away from Kansas finding a way to get it done and guys stepping up that had to step up and play great basketball. We talked yesterday that this game had 20 and 15 written all over it for Hunter Dickinson. I was wrong. It was 20 and 20. 19 and 20 to be exact. That's what it had written on. He had to be that guy. He had to do that if Kansas was going to win. And now we know. They win by 4, and he was 19 points, 20 rebounds. He clearly had to do that. And would there be a guy like a Nick Timberlake step up and have a game and start to switch the narrative, change the narrative of his career, short as it is, at his time in a KU uniform, if that would change the narrative around Nick Timberlake? And he goes out and scores a career high with Kansas and 19 points and hits 3 threes. And a huge one with under 3 minutes to play when Samford had made that comeback and they got within 1. DeJuan Harris came down and hit a floater. Samford then missed 2 free throws. I think KU missed a shot, then Samford missed a shot. They kick it out. They get a little bit of a breakaway, and DeJuan Harris hits Timberlake in the corner, who buries it. And most of the year, especially late, I think there was a good portion of KU fans are like, that's not going in. He's just not making that. When he let that go, I'm like, that's good. He's playing differently tonight. That's good. Did you think Dylan, did you think that ball was going in? When Nick Timberlake, with 2:50 to go, up by 3, DeJuan Harris kicks it to him in the corner. He buries it. He splashed it home. It would be a splash if it wasn't for the awful nets that were used in Salt Lake.
Actually had a free throw stick in the net.
Dude, those nets were terrible.
They were awful.
I am a net snob.
Same.
And there are certain types of nets that I think you should have, certain types of nets I like.
It's the highest, not the highest level because the NBA is, but, right up there.
You can't have a net that's that tight that it will hold the ball in there. You can't have a net that almost knocks the ball back out of the rim on a KJ Adams dunk.
You're in an NBA arena.
Yeah, like that simply can't happen.
Yeah.
But did you think it was going in when Timberlake let it go? Because I saw it was sort of split on Twitter when it was like, no faith that was going in. Actually, I thought it was when he let that go. I'm like, that's good. He's burying that.
From the night he had and the little of KU that I've kind of followed, as much as that, as weird as that is, but
yeah.
I thought it was going in just because it felt like that last night was his night.
Mm-hmm.
And to Matt Tate's point, like he had kind of a bad narrative about him on social, and he didn't care. And it, to me, like you could tell, especially when we went to the free throw line after that foul and buried both shots.
Yeah.
And they called a timeout in between it to where you're in your mind, the ball don't lie, everything like that goes through
It
your
lied.
mind.
That ball's a liar.
It did. You can make it lie if you're a good free throw shooter and you have like the
That's
confidence of, I don't care, and I'm going to make both these shots. So he kind of had that energy all night. And even Brendan Haywood was giving him props. And I felt like that was awesome for him, too. It was just getting the props from a NBA guy, a former guy that was really good in the NCAA as well, and having a night. So
let's play clip number 2 here. This is Timberlake. It's on that last part. It was a 2-part question, and it was started off were you fouled, and then the question was were you fouled, and then did you think or when did you sort of feel that a career high in a Kansas uniform could come in this game tonight?
Yeah, I was definitely fouled on the breakaway, but I think it all started this morning, shoot around. I was feeling pretty good and just carried over into the game.
So there's a difference between hearing that and seeing it. Hearing it, you're like, I mean, come on, man. Come on, dude. You know it wasn't. Seeing it when he said, I was definitely fouled, and then he sort of put his head down and was kind of smiling. I think there was a wry smile. I think there was a sort of a wink and a nod, like, oh, I was definitely fouled there. And then, KU players in the locker room were like, the officials called it a foul, so it's a foul. I guess I'm going to defer to the refs. So did they call it a foul? Then it's a foul. Was did they call it clean? Then it's clean. It's a foul. It's a foul. But he stepped up and hit both of those shots. And there's an opportunity now against Gonzaga tomorrow. Quick turnaround. Absurd quick turnaround against Gonzaga to continue changing that particular narrative. But yeah, he good for him in stepping up and playing that way. Hunter Dickinson played that way. I also think, too, that I know that the style that Samford plays, and I'm not they shouldn't have changed their style. I'm not saying that they should have got out of the press. What I would wonder if they had it to do it over again, at the end, the last two press breaks for KU, Hunter Dickinson, the throwing over the top to KJ Adams dunk, and a guy slipped and fell. That happens. And then, we're talking about the Nick Timberlake one. The pass from Hunter Dickinson to KJ, there's a dude that's like 6 foot that's guarding Hunter Dickinson. Hunter Dickinson's holding the ball and just looking with the ball over his head. Like, you're not stealing the ball from him, right? Foul him! Like, why are you not fouling him? KU got a dunk by KJ Adams and a breakaway by Timberlake, and then the two free throws by, a free throw shooter like Timberlake. When KJ could have shot free throws, Hunter Dickinson could have shot free throws, and those guys were a combined 1 of 8 from the free throw line. That's 4 points that may have been 0. And the final score is 93-89, and credit KU for that. But when Samford's bringing everybody up to try to steal the ball, sometimes a foul of a bad free throw shooter is just as good as a steal, although you're not going to get that, live ball turnover and maybe an easy bucket. But, you get the ball back in a better position than, being down 4 like they were, and then they hit a 3, and then being down 3 like they were as well. And then, eventually that free throw that put them up, 93-89 and called it game for KU. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. I do want to hear from Bill Self. We'll hear from John Calipari. We'll hear from Jack Golke, the Oakland star last night that hit 10 threes on the night, crushing me in my bracket and my player pool, and giving Curtis an early inside track. Curtis, I'm going to take Jack Golke in the 15th round. Shut up, idiot. Dumbass.
What a scout. Scouter's eye right there.
We'll take this Jack Gaholke guy. Jack Gaholke, yeah. Apparently he's 27 years old. Jack Golke's high school team knocked out Tyler Hero's high school team in the state championship. These stories are fun, by the way. Guys that have been around for a long time, because of the COVID year.
I agree.
His high school year, he beat Tyler Hero in the championship, in the state championship in Wisconsin, to knock out Tyler Hero, who is in, his 5th year in the NBA? All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. We got Matt Derrick joining us at 11 o'clock. We'll talk some NFL football, some college basketball with Matt Derrick as well. Mick Schaefer will join us in the show. KSHB 41 Sports Director, presented by Empower Payments. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810. Text says he was wide ass open. Yes, I expected that 3 to go in. I did too. Text says the refs also tend to not give you the benefit of the doubt when blocking from behind and the ball is still in their hands. Yeah, we've seen. Here's the thing: 9 times out of 10, that's maybe 98 times out of 100. You know that ends up being a foul. The ability for you to jump the way that he did, while Nick Timberlake was running full speed and then going for a dunk. Right? He could have thought Nick Timberlake was going for a layup. Right? So you got to angle it perfectly, jump to get your hand on the ball, but then not also touch his hand in any way, shape, or form. For your body to not even scrape a little bit against his body. And literally the only thing that was touched was the ball. It's like a 1 in 1,000 play. And so, or a 1.2, well, a 2 out of 100 play, whatever, 98 out of 100. Now it's 1 out of 1,000, whatever. So yeah, I totally understand where the officials look at it and go, well, that's going to be a foul. The anticipation. But also, don't, anticipate that. Tex says a win is a win in the tournament. Absolutely. Kansas shouldn't be apologizing for the win. They were up 21. They almost blew it, yes. Samford almost came back, yes. But there's a reason Samford got close and didn't get over the hump, because they weren't down 18. They were down 21. Had they been down 15 or 16, we might be talking about a different game. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Text says, that was the cleanest block I've seen since Missouri's last regular season game at Allen Fieldhouse. You son of a...
It's a great text. And point.
Text says, so that opens up to have every foul checked that was called or not called. No, it would be a challenge system. But again, even for those who are like, well, out of all the things that were reviewed, that one was not reviewed. Okay, well, even if, I'll grant you that. I'll grant you the argument that, hey, we should implement a challenge system. Even if I grant you that argument, you cannot guarantee me that Samford's coach, Bucky, at some point during the second half wouldn't have used that already. There might have been a moment where they're coming back and they're down 7. And then it's a foul called on KJ Adams. He's like, no, we got the momentum. That's a clean block. That's a clean play. I'm going to challenge it right now. We're going to get the ball back down 7. Would he have had his challenge available with 14 seconds left in the game? Even if he had one? You don't get unlimited, right? They don't have unlimited challenges in the NBA. So it's not to where it would open up and every single play would be challenged or every single play would be reviewed that was a foul or not a foul. People are arguing for like a challenge system, but again, I'll argue back and say, even if we implemented that, we may still be talking about the same thing. And instead it might be, well, Bucky used his challenge earlier. I mean, that's just, well, now they should have as many challenges as you want because of this one thing. Look, we've seen a play in the tournament that was a basket interference. I think it was offensive basket interference a number of years ago, and it wasn't called, and it resulted in a team winning by 2 or 3 points. They've changed that rule. You can now review that. You can now review basket interference. But they're not going to change it to you can review subjective calls and fouls. That's an objective call. The ball was over the rim. It was not over the rim. You touched the ball in the cylinder. You did not touch the ball in the cylinder. Ball was coming down. Ball was still on its plane up or had reached the plateau. Those are more of objective views, not subjective, even though that looked pretty objective that it was a clean block. But again, don't fall behind by 21 points. The Chiefs, bad call against the Packers. In MVS, it should have been a pass interference. Don't fall behind by, 8 points in the fourth quarter, and you're not having to scramble to come back and needing things to fall in your favor. They needed all those things. Text says everything's reviewed after 2 minutes. A challenge system only in the last 2 minutes. Okay, great. Challenge system only last 2 minutes. I'm fine with that too. Would he have had his challenge with 14 seconds left? Again, I don't know. We can't prove that. And I'm okay with that as well. Like, okay, you can have one challenge and you only get it in the last 2 minutes. And therefore, you don't have to call challenges or challenge a play if the ball is out of bounds because we're doing that anyway. You don't have to challenge a goaltend basket interference because we're reviewing that anyway. You don't have to challenge a flagrant one or anything because we're reviewing that anyway. So really the challenge would be left to subjective foul calls. And maybe he would have still had that. And maybe you save that for later. No idea. I mean, I'm okay with that if people want to throw that in there. 913-912-4810 text says, funny listening to the KU apologists when they squeak by against the team like Samford. I'll tell you this. You know who would love to have squeaked by? Kentucky. You live to fight another day. You live to... KU in 2008? When they won the national title, did they get by somebody early?
The only one that was close early was Davidson.
Yeah, but that was in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
Was there an...
Because they killed whoever the 16, then Villanova.
Was there a KU Purdue game at one point that it felt like Purdue had just controlled that game and then KU got by them, something like that? You find sometimes you get a scare early in the tournament. Sometimes you get that, and you find a way to go on a run. I don't think they're. I mean, look, maybe they're a KU apologist or whatever, but it's the NCAA tournament, man. It's the NCAA tournament. Oakland beats Kentucky.
And again, so we only audit the officiating in the last 2 minutes of the game. We don't go back and say, well, like Gurley was saying earlier, the guy took 100 steps before he goes to dunk the basketball, and no one's gonna take that off the board. But we're gonna do the last 2 minutes only.
Yeah,
because you can go back through the game and see all the missed foul calls. Oh, well, they shouldn't have been shooting 1-on-1 here, so we'll take 2 points there. Like we could do that all day.
Yeah, absolutely. In every single sport, in NFL, Major League Baseball. Whatever it is, every single sport, you can go back and look at it. This is the one that's highlighted because it was the last game of the night, and
that's true.
It was Samford making the last
massive comeback.
Right, Samford making a crazy comeback. It was, Friday morning on the East Coast, whatever, and it was a missed call, and it went in Kansas' favor. Right, it's just like the Chiefs. If a missed call went against the Chiefs, nobody would complain. Outside of Chiefs fans going, well, that's BS. Like I guess there's a narrative now. It's everybody in the building and across the world thought that was a clean block, except for the ref. But I should also say at the time, I thought he got fouled too.
Yeah, live,
I thought he got fouled.
Yeah, exactly. Looked like he, hit him across the arm and was trying to foul him almost. Let's say the opposite.
I'm also not the official.
No, to your point, they were standing right on top of where El Marco threw it off the Samford guy, and they still had to go to the monitor to see. Yeah.
913-912-4810, same text as so now you're saying KU is going to win the NCAA tournament. Did I say that?
We have the officials on our side, apparently.
That's true.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I said sometimes you got to get past it to make a run.
Boo-hoo, To
make a run, and thinking of 2008 when that happened or other different examples, but thinking of an example doesn't mean, well, now they're going to win the NCAA tournament. No, of course not. Of course they're not going to win the NCAA tournament. Tex says, the refs were terrible last night. Samford was hacking and flopping all night. The refs had a makeup call. I mean, that's one way to view it, I guess. One way to view it would be that Samford got a bad whistle, or KU got a bad whistle. Another way to view it is a number of national people last night that said Samford got a bad whistle last night. I mean, just depending on how you're watching the game. I mean, this is what we do. It's a matter of how you watch the game.
Damn refs. They came out hot in that second half and put up 20 points to get KU in front, too.
Yes. 913-912-4810, 913-912-4810. Let me tell you this. I would have loved for a team to squeak by in the South region over an Oakland team. So Tex says, how about don't blow a 21-point lead to a 13 seed so the block doesn't matter? Right. But don't fall behind by 21. And then the difference is when you're blowing that lead, so many things have to happen against you in a row for you to actually lose because you've built up that big of a lead. The Dayton, Nevada. I mean, Dayton's up by what? Or Nevada's up by 17. And so many things had to happen.
Felt the exact same
in
way.
a row for Dayton to come back and win that one and steal it from Nevada. You're down 21. You need so many things to happen in your favor to even get that chance. And if a missed call goes against you, it's part of the game. It sucks. And it would be the same thing that if KU was up 21 and there was a missed call that went against KU, and it's like, well, yeah, but, you blew a 21-point lead. You're leaving it into the hands of the officials. Yes, but it's both ways. You're leaving it in the hands of the officials. This one worked in KU's favor. It worked against Samford. If it worked against KU, it would be you were up 21. You put it in the hands of the officials. Don't do that. There are plenty of plays along the way. There are plenty of games along the way. That call did not cost Samford the game. It cost them an opportunity to have a 5-on-4 with 14 seconds left down one. That's all it cost them. Might have cost them a game. Might have, cost them a great moment. Might have cost me some money in the tournament because I've got a decent amount of money on one game being a buzzer beater. An actual legit buzzer beater. The ball going through the hoop and the other team not having a chance to inbound and a team winning. You only need one. It was like plus 200. You just need one out of all these games, just one. That might have been it. I have no idea. No clue. No idea. Hopefully we get one today. Let's get one today, and I just don't have to worry about, over the weekend and fewer and fewer games. Seemed like an obvious one when you think of all these different games that are being played. Come on, that's going to hit. That's an easy one. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone next. right, wrapping up the hour. We'll talk with Matt Derrick coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. 913-912-4810. Get into some more texts. We'll talk some football with Matt Derrick. Latest on L'Jarius Sneed. We'll talk some college basketball with Matt Derrick as well. Also get an update on, we'll talk some Major League Baseball today as the Royals, good news, bad news. Fifth starter is not Jordan Lyles. That's great news. It's Alec Marsh. It's another message being sent. Bad news, Royals and Bally back. All right. And no, I don't know what the latest is going to be with Amazon Prime. Cool.
since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, a Friday edition of The Zone, 913-912-4810. Bracket Busting Friday. Maybe your bracket has been busted, maybe it has not. There is 0.00054% of brackets still perfect out there.
Including Bijan Robinson as well.
Bijan has a perfect bracket?
He does. Still.
That's pretty legit. That's pretty legit, man. He went away from the McNeese and Samford love of, McNeese State's a big sleeper, Samford's a big sleeper, and Kentucky's going to make a run. And instead, he ignored those and went with Oakland over Kentucky. Good for him. Good for Bijan. Although the owners of the A's now want to see if they can move that university to a different spot. Now that they're winning a little bit, Oakland, let's get them the hell out of here. Get that team to Vegas, baby. 913-912-4810. Matt Derrick hanging out with us for the hour. Cap One Lending presents Matt Derrick. The Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time, gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to cap1lending.com. Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com and also 41 is the Mike podcast. Matt, what is up, brother?
My bracket is no longer perfect.
Good for you. Good for you. Oh, wait.
Yes.
No, that's not good for you. Sorry about that.
No.
Sorry about that. So you're like everybody else in America except for the so you're not a part of the 1%ers.
I'm definitely not a 1%er in any category.
Dang it. What was the biggest one? Did you lose like a Sweet 16? Did you lose an Elite 8? Are you like me and lost a Final Four team for some stupid reason of picking Kentucky? Even knowing the history of teams that lose their first game in the conference tournament do not get past the Sweet 16. It's just historical. And instead, I picked Kentucky and Tennessee to go to the Final Four when both of them lost their first game in the conference tournament. It's my own fault. So I've lost a Final Four and my player pool in one game, essentially. What was your worst defeat?
My most frustrating one was because of the app on which I picked my bracket.
Oh, no.
On the phone. I noticed that a couple of them that when I scrolled up to go to the next set of brackets, it changed my pick.
Oh, no.
And I caught, I think, all of them except for one, and that was taking Duquesne over BYU. I was rooting for Duquesne the entire time because I'm like, I picked him.
So then you picked Illinois to beat Duquesne, so it didn't affect the rest of your picks.
Right.
But
that was a disappointing one because then just right out of the box, there you are. You're just hosed.
Yeah, no, I said the same thing. I had Oakland beating Kentucky, and then I was scrolling up, and it clicked everything, and it clicked Kentucky, and then it moved them all the way to the Final Four, which was ridiculous. In fact, I'm going to sue.
But you know who I picked to win it all, don't you?
NC State with Mojara.
No, you're looking at the wrong bracket.
Oh, Iowa.
Oh, why would I pick Iowa? Oh, no, you're still looking at the wrong bracket. Come on, man.
What am I missing here? Hold on. Let me think for a second. I gotta get the right bracket.
I mean, you may not know my team. Although I
Bradley?
I didn't think I was Bradley.
Indiana State?
I didn't think I was Indiana State. I thought it was Baylor. Did I get the wrong team?
Oh, I was thinking the NIT. Wrong. You were saying wrong bracket.
Yeah.
So wrong
I'm
region.
talking about your bracket, man.
Oh, wrong region. Sorry. I was thinking of a completely different bracket. When you were like, I picked to win it all. I'm like, I don't know. You're like, wrong bracket. Oh, then Iowa in the women's NCAA tournament. Wrong bracket. Oh, Indiana State in the NIT?
No.
That's what
you're getting ready to go to the CBIT or something like this.
Yes. So you picked Baylor. It's a great point. It's a great point,
man.
That's a great point. That was my next bracket to get to, was the bracket of sound in the Fat Bear Week region, which has connected with Baylor Bears, the sound from Matt Derrick.
That's right.
Yeah, so
exactly.
Yeah, let's go Baylor. I've got Baylor in the Final Four as well.
I also took Mississippi State to a incredibly deep run in the tournament just because of L'Jarius the Snake. Sterling dropped.
Sterling did drop
because he did drop that right in front of me. So
it was a late entry. That was a NC State conference tournament championship
run.
When
I heard that made the bracket, I was pretty happy.
Yes,
me too. I didn't think it would because it was still outside of the fully edited part in the folder.
And you weren't even there for it.
No, no, I was not. But his immediate with Legarius's snake. That's not what I meant. Oh no, what do I do now?
He got all Carl Cheffers in his feelings right after that one.
There's no snake on the play. Wait a minute.
We love you, Sterling.
Do we though?
Well,
yes, we do. But that's in the same region. So I had Mississippi State already coming out and beating North Carolina. I had a rough day yesterday. I lost Drake. I lost Mississippi State. I lost Kentucky in a Final Four team. I lost Samford in the Sweet 16. Woo! Let's go.
Yeah.
You cannot win a pennant in April, but you can lose one. You cannot win your bracket or player pool on Thursday and Friday, but you can absolutely lose one, and that's what I did. That's what I did. And then to hell with Curtis Seabolt, too.
He's not even listening to you.
Yeah. He's not even listening, but to hell with him.
But you're just beneath him.
I hate him.
He can't respond.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. He's
just smiling. He's enjoying this. Curtis is living rent-free in your head.
I know. I've got 4 Kentucky players, and he's like, I'll take a Jack Golke. Oakland, 15. I'll take is it Jake Gallica from Oakland?
He's the John McVay of player pool.
I mean, that's just
gold. And here it was yesterday, before the tournament even starts. Curtis had already lost a Sweet 16 team before the tournament even started because he had Boise State, right? And then he goes out there, and I'm watching last night, and my brother was like, did somebody take Jack Golke? And I'm like, I know somebody took an Oakland player, but I think it was like Trey Edwards that they took. And I go scrolling through, and it's Curtis in like the 15th round. I'm like, you know what? To hell with you, because I wasn't smart enough to then hedge my bet with the Kentucky players with an Oakland player. Just because I'm not smart, I then think you're dumb. And I hate you, Curtis.
I knew it was going to happen.
That's why you took him in the 15th round?
In fact, I looked at Sean Hugh, who was with us, and I went, he's going for 30. First game, 30.
Have you seen him? He's hit 10 threes in a game.
30.
Plenty of time.
Okay,
he's got 30. So. He's got 30. That one hurt. And then Sean right in front of me, we were having a conversation about there were 2 players we were both looking at, and he was picking before me. And he was like, I'm looking at Cousinard and Shahada Wells. And I'm like, I want Cousinard from Oregon. I'm like, but it was Cousinard and Shahada Wells. We were both, when we took a break, we were both looking at the exact same players somehow. And he's like, I don't know who I'm going to take. I'm like, well, you can't go wrong with either one. Take Shahada Wells, take Shahada Wells, take Shahada Wells from McNeese. He's like, I'm going to take Cousinard. I'm like, ugh. Well, you know what? Not a bad. I'll take Shahada Wells. I got McNeese coming out. Cousinard had 40. Shahada Wells lost in the first round. Like, those things are like, I'll remember that. Sean, damn you!
Another fun development is I'm actually in the process of putting together the first round scores.
You don't have to do that.
We had somebody in our league took Kevin McCullough. And then it came out that he was hurt, so we decided the equitable way was that he could replace that person, but he had to replace him with somebody on the Kansas team so that he didn't inadvertently get a player that went further than McCullough would have.
Matt,
guess who he took?
Who do you think he took? Dylan, who do you think?
It had to be a player who hadn't been taken from Kansas. Who did he take?
He took Timberlake.
Nick Timberlake. Who went off for 19.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
And Timberlake wasn't drafted because it's like, well, is KU even going to win in the first round? And do you want 5 points from a player that may lose in the first round? No, thank you. He got when he took Timberlake, I'm like, he's going to go off and have a big game.
Done.
Yeah, well, nice job. Your bracket seems to be in good shape right now. Knock on wood for you.
Not particularly. My player pool is where it always is.
That's
it
what I meant.
guarantees me to finish somewhere between 5th and
I didn't mean your bracket,
9th.
but your player pool seems to be in good shape.
I never win. I never finish last.
Yeah, well, We talked about
like Costanza.
My entire life. I never win and never finish
Not
last.
showing off, not falling behind.
I'll be somewhere between 5th and 9th every year.
But you feel like you're in it going into the Elite Eight and the Sweet 16. I talked to Curtis. I'm like, this is the first year I didn't diversify and like get a player from like only have one player from different teams. I'm like, it's the first time I went all in, and I wasn't really planning on it, but it just happened to be like, okay, well, here's Reed Shepard. Okay, well, Rob Dillingham's still out there. Okay, well, Justin Edwards is still out there. Okay, well, Adu Tierra's out there. All right, well, I guess somehow we ended up with 4 Kentucky players. And that wasn't the plan. I'm like,
doesn't sound like a very good plan.
No, it was a terrible plan. Like, it's the first time I've ever done that where I would have skipped them in the past and just went to the next one. Like, well, I don't have anybody from this team over here. I'll take that. So
just load up.
Yep, that's right. So congratulations on goalkeeping.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome, Curtis.
There is the end of my luck. The luck stops here.
Well, the hate doesn't stop there, Curtis.
True.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Kadog. You'll hear him coming up at 2 o'clock. Curtis Seabolt talk about the 10 threes that Jack Golke hit last night. I
missed it. Did the other 2 points, were those free throws or an actual two? Okay, because I can't imagine he actually took a 2-point shot.
No. Those were free throws. I think
he only takes one of those like every 4 games.
Yeah, he's taken 8 2-point attempts.
Yeah.
In his this season,
he is 50-50. He's a 50% shooter from 3. So I don't know why he's not shooting from 2. So I don't know why he's not shooting from 2 more often.
Yeah, well, all he has to do is be like a 38% 3-point shooter to match his 50% from 2. But yeah, he's my kind of player, man. Just the only shots you're taking are threes, coming off screens and chucking up threes and transition chucking up threes. Just keep shooting it and shooting it and shooting it and having the green light. God, that'd be a dream.
Like me and NBA 2K.
See, that would be an absolute dream.
Except I miss all the time.
An absolute dream. So yeah. Also, there was another guy that took a chore. I'm like, well, you know what? It was close. But that's what happens, and people care about the player pools and fantasy sports with everybody else. So they care about the brackets and all of that stuff. So. Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com, also BracketBusters.com. 41 is the Mike podcast. Cinderella in your tournament is the Mike podcast.
I also like when I had Samford winning the first round too.
I had Samford facing off against McNeese State, so I killed it. Nailed it.
What I think is great is that like KU fans, like yourself,
yes, KU apologists.
KU apologists like Jason Anderson.
That's right.
Is that you can just ignore that things happened, like fouls. So that's great because I learned that lesson today. So you know what, Mizzou 18-0 in the SEC this year. Can you beat that?
You can't.
No,
literally, if they're 18-0,
no, they went 18-0.
You could not beat that. So yeah, good for them. They've got that going for them. Maybe John Calipari will be available for them to go out and hire. They'll turn him down for the 3rd time.
I was trying to remember last night. The last time that a foul call of any sort went Mizzou's way. And I mean, all I can really go back to is like, oh well, there was that time that Keon Dooling. Oh wait, no,
he jumped over a player, and got called for the
foul. Yeah,
leapt over. A
player.
I
remember one time when I was in college, Jason Sutherland got himself put into a headlock, and got called for the foul on that one.
Well, his head got in the way of the guy's arm.
Yeah.
So you know what? Get your head out of there, Jason. I don't know why I went Justin Sutherland. That's his brother.
Because I started to go that way.
Yes, Jason Sutherland, not Justin Timberlake.
Not Justin Timberlake of the KU Jayhawks.
Or Nick Timberlake. Let's talk some football. What about L'Jarius a Snake, as Sterling would call it? And we will
still available.
We will play that sound coming up later on in the show because we are eliminating different sound bites today.
Did they lose? Who was the team?
They were Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Mississippi State for L'Jarius Sneed. They lost. So we get to hear it again today. Sorry, Sterling.
I had to make it a deep run.
Yeah.
Sweet 16 for sure.
Apparently Sterling did too with L'Jarius. So Sneed is not traded yet. We know that.
Not yet.
Are you hearing anything in terms of a relighting of a pilot light aflame with Tennessee because it felt like it may have been extinguished with the Colts and the Titans and Calvin Ridley, and then the Colts maybe were like, oh, they've talked, they haven't talked. And is there something now brewing with Tennessee and a resurgence of interest with L'Jarius Sneed, or is it still all quiet and it's just people speculating and throwing some things out there and just wondering if anything's going to happen?
I mean, at this point, I think it's just people throwing things out there and seeing if it's going to happen because I mean, excuse me.
You're good. You're
pushing my button. And of course, I'm pushing the wrong button.
That's right.
So
Mick does the same thing. He sits there at mic 3 and presses the mic 4 cough button, which is great.
It's
confusing.
It is very confusing because there's 4 mics in here.
Yep, and 3 and 4 right next to each other, but the 3 and 4 cough buttons are not next to each other.
Well, but there's actually,
you're fine.
I'm completely confused.
You're
right.
You're all good. Am I with L'Jarius Sneed. Like, did they talk? Did they not talk? What's the deal?
I mean, there certainly has been a lot of smoke, not a lot of fire at this point. It sounds like there could have been some fire, but I mean, once again, we go back to what we know and what we believe, and what we know is very, very little. Once this story is all over, I think the eventual story is going to be great about what's going on behind the scenes, because it certainly sounds like a lot of people have been involved, and there's been a lot of discussions both ways, and the agents and everything that's going on. But what we're led to believe at this point is that everything is in the ball of L'Jarius Sneed's hand, because it's dependent upon him setting a price that the rest of the league is willing to pay. And if it's true, which we consistently hear, that he wants to be the highest paid corner in the league, it's just not going to happen at age 27 with his medical history. I mean, there's just no way that I don't think a team is going to go crazy enough to do that. His price is going to have to come down. We'll see if that happens. I mean, we'll see what he eventually signs for. I mean, I can't imagine the worst case scenario for L'Jarius Sneed would be simply either playing under the tag or not playing this year at all. Not playing this year at all would be the dumbest thing you could possibly do, because that never works out well for anybody.
And we're going to do the same song and dance next year.
Even playing under the tag wouldn't be the worst thing. It'd be a risky thing, but it wouldn't be the worst thing to do.
Though it'd be risky, but the reward is $20 million.
Yeah. And I have an outside-the-box solution for everybody that
I want to hear it.
Will not happen. But, I mean, it's like I think about the best thing for all sides. And I proposed this to my guy Nick Jacobs on the podcast, and he made one caveat that I have agreed to in the counter negotiation, which is, come back to the Chiefs, 2-year deal, all guaranteed, not what you want, something like 2 for 32, completely guaranteed. L'Jarius Sneed becomes a free agent again at 29, not ideal, but not 30. He'd get another shot. But I just don't think he's going to get a whole lot more than that. I mean, because the age and the injury history are just too much of a concern for most teams. And unless a team finally decides, wait a minute, this is our year. Mm-hmm. This is the year that we can get it done, and we need a guy like L'Jarius Sneed. But is Tennessee that team? No, I mean, they're not the team that's going to say, hey, we can afford to overpay for L'Jarius Sneed because we're ready to win a Super Bowl right now. They're not. They know that. I mean, anybody else with the money to do it? I mean, the only team that could possibly make sense now would be Detroit. To say, wait a minute, you know what? We've got a window here. We need a corner now for sure, which I know they've already got a couple, but they don't have a L'Jarius Sneed kind of guy. For them, they could be the one team. But, I've heard Soren talk about this, and it's absolutely right, which is that you look around. I mean, look, Jalen Ramsey's 28. Jalen Ramsey is not Jalen Ramsey anymore. He is not himself. Look at guys like Marcus Peters. I mean, you get into your late 20s, and you are past your prime as a corner. So even though L'Jarius is a late bloomer, and I think there's a reasonable chance that because of that and because of the miles on him, that maybe you can reasonably say has an extended window of peakness, because he does still appear to be an ascending player. So maybe you could bet on that. But the math usually tells you that within the next 12 to 18 months will be L'Jarius Sneed's peak, and anything you're paying after that's going to be post-peak. It just doesn't make a whole lot of business sense for most teams.
So looking at, to your point, and looking at the other cornerbacks in the league, when they signed their contracts, in the total value, or if we want to look at annual average value of the contracts, I'm going to go through the age of when they signed their deals. All right, here we go. The age at which they signed their deals. L'Jarius Sneed is up here because he's getting $19.8 million. So he's the third highest with annual average value right now at 19.8.
1 year, 19.8.
1 year, 19.8. But here are the ages of the cornerbacks when they signed. It doesn't even matter the cornerbacks' names. 25, 24, 27, L'Jarius Sneed. 25, 24, 25, 24, 28, Jalen Ramsey. 25, Tre'Davious White. 27, Carlton Davis. 26, Charvarius Ward. 26, 28, 26, 25. You get down there a pretty far ways before you get to past Jalen Ramsey as a 28-year-old. And that's even, that's a $1.5 million less than what L'Jarius Sneed is making this year alone. You're 25, 24, 25, 24, 25, 24.
What was Carlton Davis? I mean, he's way down there.
Carlton Davis was, where is he at? Where is Carlton Davis? Oh, there you are. He's 27. He's 14.5.
Yeah,
$14.5 million as a 27-year-old.
And I'm not sure that I buy the
and it's a one-year deal.
I'm not sure I buy the rumors that L'Jarius wants $22 million. I mean, if L'Jarius is asking for 22, it's because he's willing to settle for 20. But even then, 20 is...
Well, 21.1 would be the highest paid cornerback in the league. 21.000001, because Jair Alexander's 21 even.
And Jalen Johnson was what, 18?
Jalen Johnson is 19. 19 even, and he's 24 years old.
Exactly. He's 24 years old. He's going to be 25 this year.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, you're talking L'Jarius has got 2.5 years on him. I mean, and honestly, I mean, even though I really like L'Jarius, I mean, you look at them on paper and you look at awards, I mean, you'd say, okay, wait a minute. Actually, Johnson's been more accoladed than L'Jarius has, even though I don't think that's proper. I mean, I think L'Jarius is better than he gets credit for. But that's the reality of it. I mean, around the league, if you asked people, they would tell you that Jalen Johnson's better corner than L'Jarius. And most of that's probably because of age and because he's still a rising player and has more peak years ahead of him. But he's been the more applauded player. So, that's why, I mean, there's a disconnect to me. And then you look at the rest of the cornerback market this offseason. I mean, because the best guys were taken off the market, with the franchise tag. And so Sneed hasn't signed, and now Johnson got his $19 million deal. Everybody else has been like in the 8 to 12. I mean, there's nobody over that. Now, part of that's just the, bad crop of free agent corners. But, the idea that everybody else is getting 8 to 12 and then L'Jarius is going to get 22 is a complete and total outlier thought. So I don't know what I think that, especially you look at the Jalen Johnson, I don't see how L'Jarius is going to get a deal better than that, even on the open market when there's more than one bidder, because right now it doesn't appear that there's any bidders.
If you look at the guaranteed at signing as well, like we're looking at annual average value, okay, well, it's more about the guaranteed dollars. Okay. Guaranteed dollars, age of the highest guaranteed dollars, 24, 24, 24, 25, 28, Jalen Ramsey, 28, Xavier Howard, signed a 5-year deal. After 2 years of that, they've cut him. The Dolphins cut Xavier Howard after 2 years of that. He signed as a 28-year-old.
Yep.
2 years later, they've cut him on that 5-year deal. 20, 25, 21, 25, 22, 25, 26, 21, 21, 21. Now, those are first-round draft picks that you get into the 20 and 21-year-olds. But, that's where you're spending all of that money. The age and the injury certainly are going to be working against L'Jarius Sneed. I wonder about Tennessee because, I've got, some buddies that work in the media down in Tennessee, in Nashville, covering the Titans. And randomly, Matt, both of them, within an hour yesterday, texted me about L'Jarius Sneed. And just all right, so what's the deal? Do the Chiefs actually want to trade him? Are they just, trying to see if they can, screw over a team and get a crazy amount in return? Why isn't this thing getting done? And then an hour later, hey, what's the deal with L'Jarius Sneed? What's the trade? Is it a contract? Is it within an hour? That's clearly, obviously something that is being talked about a lot in Nashville right now. Is being discussed a lot, taking phone calls and talking about L'Jarius Sneed, because one of them was like, all right, so, slot outside. We've had people complain that he only plays the slot. I'm like, well, that's not true. He's an outside corner. He can play the slot. He's really good, but McDuffie played the slot. He's an outside corner. He's a true number one, a corner and all of that stuff. So we talked about that. We talked about the knee. That is just going to be something that people will have to deal with. He missed training camp because of the knee, and he was on the injury report every week. At his age, it's just going to be something he's going to have to manage for the next 2-3 years. And that's a risk that teams will take to bring in and say, well, one thing happening with that knee, and now does it become debilitating? Now does it become chronic? Now does it start to take away from his athleticism and his ability overall? Those are things that you clearly have to worry about. But I thought it odd that within an hour, multiple people in Nashville were like, all right, what's the deal with L'Jarius Sneed? I don't know if that means that there's more smoke in Nashville, or it's just more people around there talking and thinking, okay, maybe some at least discussions with the Titans and L'Jarius are heating up again.
Well, and that's the crazy thing is because, I mean, a couple of weeks there was a lot of speculation and rumors that there was some talk between the Titans and the Chiefs and L'Jarius' agent, and, we'll see whether or not that was true or not. Now it almost feels like Tennessee is the new Colts, because last week it was the Colts that were supposedly, and then it was the dueling narratives about whether the Colts did or didn't, and then it was, oh, well, they did, but not really, and then, well, yeah, they did, but then this didn't work out, and that's why I say when this is all said and done, I mean, the story about this whole thing and the saga is going to be very entertaining, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not as much for L'Jarius and his side, because I think it's probably been fairly stressful. And honestly, I mean, I think it's a bit, it's problematic for the Chiefs too, because they're, once again, for the second off season in a row, they are hamstrung by a prolonged negotiation. I mean, this is exactly what happened with Chris Jones last year. Wasn't the franchise tag, but it was another issue like this. So, I mean, that's absolutely affecting the Chiefs, because that's $19.8 million in salary cap space that they were not planning on having on the books in this way. Their intention all along was either, you re-sign L'Jarius and you get that number down, or you trade him and he's off the books. But right now, even though they have a little bit of cap space, that's not enough.
Yeah.
I mean, for this time of year, I mean, you look at this. I think Spotrac has them at maybe $4 million, $3.5 million of cap space. And that's only the top 51 contract, so it doesn't include everything.
They've got him at 8.5 right now.
Okay, it keeps bouncing around.
Yeah, I know, right? There's,
but that doesn't include the draft class. It doesn't
Exactly.
include the top, all 53. It doesn't include an injured group. It doesn't include practice squad. So, you got to add another 8 to 10 million on there. I mean, the Chiefs really don't have enough money to barely even go to the season right now.
Draft class is going to add 4.7. So maybe that's the look at,
So, yeah,
8.5 adding in the 4.7, you're looking at about 3.8.
Yeah.
So that's really what you're working with, is less than $4 million to go and fill out the rest of your roster. You don't have a backup quarterback. You don't have, other spots. You lost Allegretti. Are you bringing in somebody for that? Mike Edwards signed somewhere else. Is that just going to mean that Shamari Connor takes over that role, plays in the slot, but then also can take over the Mike Edwards role?
Yeah.
Are you going to get more from Deion Bush, or are you bringing him back to play his role and figuring some other moving parts around? And you've got $3.8 million to play with to do all that, which is less than Brett Veach wants to have going into the season to, quote unquote, keep the lights on.
Yeah. I mean, and at this point, last year, the Chiefs, I don't believe, had even signed Drew Tranquill and Mike Edwards yet. I mean, we weren't even to the point in the free agency waves that you were to the point where you were really looking for those bargains.
I think it was this week last year, the second week of free agency. It was like a week, 7 to 10 days after the league year started, that they ended up signing Drew Tranquill. I think Mike Edwards was a little bit later, and obviously Donovan Smith was after the draft when that took place. And so, there's still some moves to be made, because they've been able to go bargain shopping. They've been able to do that in the past, and they found that Drew Tranquill fell into their lap. They weren't planning on signing Drew Tranquill, and all of a sudden, the Chargers weren't interested. The linebacker market bottomed out. March 21st. So that was
when Drew Tranquill signed. So yes, that was right at that time.
Yeah, so a week after the league year starts. And Omenihu was early on, like a day or two after the league year started. But yeah, you get somebody that's like, okay, the linebacker market's not working for this guy, and now they're reaching out to us and saying, are you interested in Drew Tranquill? Yeah. Mike Edwards, his contract or whatever, not the way that he thought was going to go in the offseason. And so he gets that. Now he gets a better deal with Buffalo. Hey, great. Congratulations. Go kill it there in Buffalo when you're not playing the Chiefs,
Yeah.
Great. But they have other decisions that they obviously have to make. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and we'll continue rolling. We will keep talking with Matt Derrick. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast presented by Cap One Lending. More Zone right after this. HB, Jason Anderson with you. Dylan Michaels hanging out with Matt Derrick. Chiefs Digest, 41 is the Mike podcast.
That's like the musical backdrop to my bracket.
Is it? That's right, yes. By the way, last night I saw this, and maybe this will be a part of Sports or Leisure next week, so if somebody hears it, then hey, maybe keep it in mind. But the last player to have at least 40 points, so Cousinard for Oregon had 40 points as an 11 seed, and they beat South Carolina, the number 6 seed. The last player to have at least 40 points as a double-digit seed and win that game was Steph Curry. Last player that played on a double-digit seed, scored 40 points, and that double-digit seed win. So Cousinard joins Steph Curry. And Jack Golke for Oakland was 1 3-pointer away from tying the most threes in a game in the NCAA tournament history. Right now, Florida Atlantic and Northwestern are playing. And
it's right now on pace to be in the 30s.
Yes. With 10 minutes to go in the first half, it was 8-8. It is now 10-8 with 10 minutes to go in the first half. 18 points, roughly what Samford and KU scored in the final 2 minutes.
I pulled up the game, and I thought that said 19 or 18. Way more closer to the start of the game with the score than that.
Yep, it's 10.
It's like
to
2
8.
Virginias out here.
No, it is 18. That's just the total.
Yeah,
total points scored is 18 points. Will one of these teams get to 14? We'll find out.
Remember, I think in their Sweet 16 run, Missouri State beat Wisconsin like 46-32 one year.
Yeah. I mean, Northwest lost in the Sweet 16, 43-42. That one hurt, but it happens. It happens. 913-912-4810. All right, Matt, Mike Edwards, I mentioned this earlier in the previous segment, but I'll get your thoughts on what they do there. Do you think the Chiefs go out and sign somebody that they're still looking for a third safety, or what would be a fourth safety, but a third safety, and then Deion Bush moving to practice squad and special teamer, et cetera, what he did last year? Or are they more inclined to fill that role in-house with getting Nazeeh Johnson back and then maybe moving Shamari Connor into different roles? What do you think the Chiefs do with Mike Edwards signing elsewhere?
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what they do because, Nazeeh was obviously a safety converted to corner. Shamari has kind of almost looked like that too. I mean, even though he's still considered, a safety for them, he played a lot of nickel corner last year, and at least dime safety. So you still feel like he's, though, pretty solidly in there at that safety group. Brian Cook's coming back from an injury. It doesn't feel like a huge injury to the point where you're concerned about how much if he's going to be 100% at the beginning of the season. I mean, he's been on pace. He should be able to participate in a little bit of OTAs, so should be okay there. And like you said, you got Deion Bush that is as a depth piece. I still feel like that they're in a spot where, especially with the depth of that safety market that's still out there as a free agents group, that if there's some veteran that's price point drops down just like Mike Edwards did last year, yeah, I think they would still add one of those guys because there's still a lot of talent out there at safety that's a free agent. It's just, the market hasn't been there because there's been too much supply. I think these guys, for the most part, are looking for more money than they're getting, but so was Mike Edwards last year. And eventually you reach a point where it's like, wait a minute, I'm going to go somewhere. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's a veteran safety that absolutely would take a Mike Edwards deal to come to Kansas City, get a chance for a ring. I mean, there'll be somebody that eventually falls in that group. So I do think they add somebody. It won't be a significant expense, but it might be a decent name.
You mentioned get a chance for, a chance to get a ring. Did we see the first one that in Hollywood Brown that actually, from the reports, took less money to join the Chiefs? We've talked about it for a couple of years now, the Patrick Mahomes effect. Players are going to want to take less money to come and play for the Chiefs, play for Patrick Mahomes on a one-year prove-it deal, or ring chasing, and we're gonna see players do that now that you're in the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid era. Did we see the first one? Maybe with Hollywood Brown, or the reports that he took less money, and if that's the case, do we start to see maybe more of those guys do that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like the guys are going to take less money to come play with Mahomes and chase a ring has probably been a little overrated because, you're talking about only a very specific group of players. It's not like 100% of players are going to be in that category, you're just talking about probably for the most part players who are, they're veterans, probably on at least their third contract, which is not Hollywood's case. I mean, he was just going for a second contract. But I think even he's a particular case because even though he would say, I think that, hey, chasing the ring was part of it, and that's part of the story. I think the other part of it is that he's saying, wait a minute, this market wasn't where I wanted it to be. I wasn't getting as much money as I thought I should. Maybe it didn't sound like he was. If he was getting Calvin Ridley money, he wouldn't be in Kansas City.
Yeah,
if he had that kind of offer, he wouldn't be in KC.
Yeah.
But he's not getting that. So what do? Do you take a offer that's less than you want to go play with a crummy quarterback on a crummy team just to cash the check? Well, he did that in Arizona. It wasn't the plan, but because he didn't get to play with Kyler as much as he wanted to.
Yeah.
But he now knows that, hey, wait a minute. The reason I'm not getting, and he's smart enough to get this. I mean, I think you could certainly see this from his interview and everything. That Hollywood's a smart guy. I mean, he gets it, and and he was obviously frustrated in Baltimore because, even though he was getting the ball, it wasn't an offense built around passing the football.
Yeah.
I mean, he always knew that. I mean, I think he
got 1,000 yards in Greg Roman's offense,
and I think he felt like that was the ceiling.
Yeah.
That he's not gonna have any other better year than that. So it was like, wait a minute, this offense is built around Lamar. I'm not getting to do what I really want to do and what I feel like I'm best at. So put me somewhere where I am. Goes to Arizona, doesn't work out because Kyler was hurt, and then is like, okay, wait a minute, I need to go somewhere where my skills are going to be utilized, and I can be, I can have maybe a good enough year so that next year when I can be a free agent again, maybe I can get that Calvin Ridley kind of money. And in that case, I mean, Kansas City makes the best choice in the world. I mean, if that's your mindset and what you're thinking is that I need to go somewhere where I can put up some numbers and then really make some bag, I mean, that's what Hollywood did. So it's a twofer for him. I mean, if he gets a chance to be on a playoff team and win a ring, great. And right now he's trying to bet on himself for a year. And if you're a receiver and you're betting on yourself, why wouldn't you go play with Patrick Mahomes? Why would you go play with somebody else who's a crummy quarterback? I mean, that's not going to do you any good. So, I mean, he's in a great spot here to me because if he has a 1,000-yard season, yeah, I mean, he probably will get paid like Calvin Ridley kind of money. I mean, he could, at least in that ball, I mean, at least in a bigger, longer term, more lucrative, guaranteed money way. And that won't necessarily get that ridiculous contract because Tennessee doesn't know what they're doing. But, he would get more money. So not every player's in that situation. And, and certainly if you're talking about taking $90 million versus $50 million just to go chase a ring, no, you're not going to do that. And some players, if it means taking $89 million instead of $90 million to chase a ring, they're going to take the $90 million.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. You take whatever the most money is. Javon Kinlaw at the Super Bowl was asked, not Kinlaw, but Hargrave from the Eagles, why he signed with the 49ers, and he said, because they paid me the most money.
Yeah.
I mean, he sort of laughed, and he's like, I mean, honestly, that's they paid me the most money. That's why I came to San Francisco, which is perfectly fine.
95% of the time, that's absolutely the reason players take money.
Perfectly fine.
Take the deal. It's the most money.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. Go ahead and do that. Go and make the as much money as you possibly can. Like, it's certainly something we've talked about a lot, and I'm okay if players admit that as well. But I don't know what the level of more money was there for Hollywood Brown. Like, did he turn down $10 million guaranteed for $7 million with incentives to get to more money than what he had? That was just the life and the total contract. It's like, well, no, but that contract was $10 million, but that's all I could make.
Yeah.
This contract's $7 million, but I can make up to $11 million. So technically, I turned down more money, but I also have a chance to make more. Like, what are the details of that we don't know that would really put it into perspective of how willing some other players may or may not be to go down that same route?
Yeah. I mean, my guess is that it wasn't $20 million of difference. It was probably a smaller amount than that.
Yeah,
and probably, like you're talking about, probably in the single digits.
Yeah.
Even if it's in it could have been even the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean,
Because it's true. This team, was going to give me a $7.1 million contract that could get up to $11.1 million contract. I turned down more money. That's factually correct if that's the case.
I mean, I was offered, if I'm a wide receiver of his age and everything, and I was offered $11 million to go play with Sam Darnold, or $7 million with a chance to earn $11 million playing with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
That one I'm probably taking Patrick Mahomes. I mean, especially if I'm young and I've got a chance to, I need a 1-year prove-it deal to go out and put up some numbers.
Do you think they do anything else before the draft with the wide receiver position, or is this kind of
it goes back to Legarius again?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, I think that they could certainly afford someone cheap. So, would bringing back McCole be a huge surprise? No. I mean, keeping him would fit in with their plans and everything. A lot of and just touching real kind of quickly on the Chiefs' own free agents who are still out there, like a Mike Dana. I mean, once again, the Snead situation absolutely plays a little bit into those decisions, but this was also a little bit of Kansas City's offseason philosophy when it came to retaining most of their own free agents, other than the ones that they circled, like Drew Tranquill, that was like, okay, we're going to keep him. We want to keep Chris Jones. Outside of that, the rest of it was like, okay, you go test the market. You find out what your market is and everything, and come back to us. And, hey, if it's affordable for us, you can stay. And if not, we'll probably say good luck, best wishes, farewell, and move on.
Yeah.
And that's how it's kind of worked out. So you've kind of seen it. I mean, guys that went out there and the guys who've come back haven't been like big deals. I mean, Tershawn Wharton was decent money. I mean, but once again, I mean, if the Chiefs are in a position where they can pretty much just match whatever any team wants, and that's the advantage of being who they are, because it's not a situation where if the Chiefs were a 500 team and Turk Wharton went out and was getting $2.9 million from another team, he wouldn't even think about coming back to the Chiefs necessarily and saying, hey, can you match this so I can keep going 500? But if he gets 2.9 from, a 4-13 team, he's absolutely going to come back to the Chiefs and say, hey, can you match this? And then if they want, then they
I'll
will.
return.
And
here I am.
going to return.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. Let's do this. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling, hanging out with Matt Derrick. More Zone right after this. ChiefsDigest.com and 41 is the Mike podcast, presented by Cap One Lending. Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending, the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time, gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to CapOneLending.com. Florida Atlantic up 16-12. A shootout has broken out there with all of 10 points being scored in the last 7 minutes.
I just saw the graphic that these two teams are combined 2 of 20 from 3.
2 of 20. Not exactly the Jack Golke and Samford from
now,
last night.
I mean, we're in almost the end of the first half, and so far these teams have not combined to outscore Jack Golke.
That's exactly right. These two teams' total first half points are going to be less than Jack Golke, the 25-year-old apparently who's going to the police academy when his time is done at Oakland. I'm not sure, but it just looks like it. Give Jack Golke some Ray-Bans, and that guy's pulled you over.
Physicality of this game is just straight out of the late 50s and early 60s.
They have been letting him play.
Yeah.
The officials have been letting him play, which typically happens. You know, that's travel. And it's a backcourt violation anyway. Dude,
that was not a good pass.
Clearly traveled and then panicked and threw it over the guy's head at the top of the key, and it went all the way back the other way. So Dusty May, the head coach of Florida Atlantic, may be coaching his last game at Florida Atlantic. Not because he's getting fired, but because he's going to take the Louisville job.
After watching this first half, if I were him, I would want to get out of town as quickly as possible.
Yeah, he's
Where's Missouri State?
He's probably going to be the next Louisville head coach is Dusty May. Maybe he'll be the next Kentucky head coach. We'll see. You know, they may make a move there. Whew. There's some unrest there with the Kentucky Wildcats and what's happened over the last few years. So hanging out with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, 41 is the Mike podcast, as we've talked a lot of Chiefs, as you would expect, with the conversation around L'Jarius Sneed and whether something gets done. If you're guessing, as we wrap up the hour, we'll obviously talk next week as well, but if you're guessing, your instinct right now, does this go to draft day? Do they make a move before that? Is he on the Chiefs next year? If you're guessing right now what your gut instinct tells you on the future of L'Jarius Sneed and the Chiefs.
I would say that my plurality response right now in prediction, because I certainly don't have a majority. I'm not over 50% on anything. I mean,
right. And there's a runoff.
Many different scenarios. I think the plurality scenario is this goes to draft week. I think getting a draft deal done on draft day and draft nights is really difficult unless you have the parameters in place already.
Yeah.
Could I see a Frank Clark kind of thing, week of? Not compensation-wise, but week of. I think that's probably going to be a little bit more likely. That's a deadline. If you don't get a deal done by then, probably don't get a deal done. And so there's other options. And the Chiefs pulling the tag, not out of the realm of possibility either.
Interesting. That's something we haven't really talked about. If they were to just simply pull the tag. If they pulled the tag and he goes for a lot of money, they would get a third-round compensation in the 2025 draft.
Yeah.
So would you trade him for a third-rounder in the 2025 draft or future draft picks or, I don't know, take your chances on him signing a big deal? Matt, you're the man. Appreciate it as always, brother.
Good to see you, man.
There's Matt Derrick. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. More Zone next.
to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Can we listen into the final part of this first half here with Northwestern and Florida Atlantic? Can we do that by any chance? Northwestern is up 19-18 with 20 seconds left. Can we hear it? Oh, it just went to half? Okay. Well, we're about 20 seconds behind on the TV here, so it just went to half. And I'll tell you what happened here in just a second as Northwestern is up 19-18. With 10 seconds to go in the first half on the TV broadcast, not the radio broadcast. And John L. Davis, their stud, with the ball. And he made it at the end of half. So Florida Atlantic got to 20 points. A team got to 20 points in the first half of the Florida Atlantic and Northwestern game. Everybody stand up, give them an ovation. Nice job, guys. You got to 20. Well done. Congratulations. 20-19, the halftime score. They have scored combined. They have scored combined 7 more points than Jack Golke got last night by himself in the first half. 2 teams combining in the first half. And in fact, what did he have? 21 points in the first half? So Jack Golke last night against Kentucky scored 21 points. Florida Atlantic is leading Northwestern at halftime, scoring 20 points, their lowest scoring half of the season. Any half, first half, second half, whatever, lowest scoring half of the season. Sloppiness has been the tale of this game. Teams are 3 of 15 from behind the arc, and Florida Atlantic averages 11 turnovers per game. They have 12 turnovers in this game already in the first half. Early game in Brooklyn. I know it was a noon 15 start, but still, early game. Also, an update on the Baylor Bears taking on Colgate, and Baylor is up by 10. They are not letting a 14 seed knock off a 3 seed, damn it. That ain't going to happen twice in one tournament. No, sir. You can get Oakland all you want. Colgate, not going to do that. Baylor won't fall for the UK trap. You know why? Because they have a better coach. They've both won a national championship, right? They both have a national championship. I know Cal's got more Final Fours and everything. He's been to 4 Final Fours at Kentucky. He's got a national championship, played for another national championship. So we talked a lot of Kansas in the first hour, and certainly we got into the conversation about the foul call, non-foul, foul called, wasn't a foul. Review! Got to go back and review that. And I understand the frustration when people see that happen and then 15 seconds later, well, not 15 seconds of, would be 13 seconds of game time, the ball goes out of bounds and they spend 2 minutes reviewing that. And that's pretty obvious, the ball, who it was out of bounds on. It was out of bounds on Achor Achor, and El Marco made a fantastic play at the end of the game. See, last thing you remember of El Marco Jackson was making a great play. That's the way you remember those games. El Marco Jackson played phenomenal if you turned it on in the last 10 seconds of that game. El Marco had a brilliant game last night. Nick Timberlake had a fantastic game. So we talked about that, and I know people want to have the implement a challenge system. The reviews take so long as it is. That's the issue to me. Like, people that are complaining and going, well, you have reviews already that you complain about, and now you want to add more reviews? Well, it's not necessarily adding more reviews. I want them to be officiated more efficiently, expeditiously, that you can actually, I'm going to go Stephen A. Smith there. Preposterous. More efficiently, expeditiously, so you actually get the thing right and get it done. You go over there. Instant replay was implemented to correct an obvious mistake. The ball going out of bounds on one person or another shouldn't take 3 minutes to figure that out. You can't figure it out. It's not obvious. Go with the call on the floor. We've talked about that. It's become absurd how long they're taking. If you want to implement a challenge system, hey, that's fine. Implement a challenge system. But I'll offer this. I'll grant you the argument that a challenge system should take place. But you then also have to acknowledge that last night that may not have mattered, because who's to say that Bucky would have still had a challenge left? Would not have used his challenge. And maybe that challenge is under 2 minutes, so they can review goaltend, basket interference. They can review out of bounds. They can review flagrant fouls. They can review those things. But then some of the subjective calls, you get one challenge. Under 2 minutes, and that's it. He might have used it earlier. He might not have. That might have been corrected. But also correcting that call would have then put it 5-on-5. When we know it would have been 5-on-4 with 16 seconds left, 14 seconds, whatever it might have been. That much time, that little of time left in the game, and down by 1. You can't recreate that. Samford deserved to have that opportunity because of the game that they played, because of the play that they made. But they also fell behind by 22 points. Not just 21. They fell behind by 22 points. Had they fallen behind by 21 points, then they wouldn't have had to go and try to foul because it would have been a tie game, et cetera, et cetera. But they fell behind by 22 points, and they were in a position where so many things had to go right. So many things have to be correct. So many things have to fall in your favor. You got to hit a bunch of threes. You got to get some turnovers. You got to have missed free throws. You got to have some calls go your way. All of that has to happen in such a small amount of time with 7 minutes remaining that you've sort of created a scenario where one call can be the difference. We had a texter earlier said, okay, you don't blow a 22-point lead to be in that position. Right. But the difference is when you have built that lead, not everything has to happen sort of perfectly along the way. 913-912-4810. Text says, Jack Golke is Jay Billis with hair. I don't know. There have been so many different people that have tried to compare what Jack Golke looks like. To me, he looks like an accountant. 913-912-4810. Text says, still talking about the Kansas game for 2 hours. Really? Will L'Jarius Sneed play for Kansas? And Hollywood Brown play for Kansas? Mike Edwards, he play for Kansas? Mike Dana, he play for Kansas? Tennessee Titans, he play for Kansas? Damn. 2 hours. Appreciate you listening. Maybe I don't know, maybe the first hour was on repeat. Who knows? 913-912-4810. Text says, if I was KC, I might want to camouflage the trade until right before I make the pick. Could be. Wait until draft day, etc. Text says, my understanding that Mahomes' restructuring this year gave us $21 extra million on top of the 15 we had, which is a total 36, minus needs 19, minus Browns 8, leaves $9 million out of 4, right? It's about 8.5 that they've got left, but they are going to owe $4.8 million to their draft class. So that has to be counted in. It's not counted in right now, but it has to be counted in. The reason it's not counted in right now is because, well, if they trade back from the first round. If they trade up, or if they get a second rounder for L'Jarius Sneed or something like that. Now you're adding to the draft class pool. You're also taking $19 million off the salary cap. So that's a net win there. But you add that in, and now you're looking at less than, what, $4 million to work with if you're the Chiefs. We'll get to some more text. 913-912-4810, the text line. 913-912-4810. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up this hour, KSHB 41 Sports Director, presented by Empower Payments. We will play the teams in the bracket of sound that have been eliminated. We have 16 teams that have been eliminated as of yesterday. So 16 pieces of sound that we will play today that are gone. So we'll do that, including the piece of sound that is connected to the Kentucky Wildcats. Let's play this clip because he's the story of the tournament so far is Jack Golke. This is a post-game after the win against Kentucky. This is clip number 7, Dylan, in there. Post-game after the Kentucky win. This is from CBS. And, Greg Kampe, the Oakland head coach, had weighed in a little bit already on the team. And then they talked to Jack Golke about, this team, how they're in this position, how they pulled off the upset, how they won this game, and sort of sticking together throughout the entire game.
We made a lot of stupid plays. We missed a lot of free throws. I messed up on defense sometimes. We picked each other up every single time. And that's why we're going to keep winning some games.
You have anything left in that right arm?
Hey, I got 1 day to get it back, and we'll be firing again.
Coach, what's the message as this team now advances in the NCAA tournament for what's ahead?
All right, we're going to enjoy about 45 minutes of this. Now we're going to get ready because we got a chance of a lifetime. This isn't the end of it. This is not the end of it. We've got more, and the only way we're going to win Saturday is to stay focused and take them one at a time. And we're going to do that.
Coach, Jack, we appreciate the show, guys. Go enjoy it.
Appreciate it. We're not a Cinderella.
A little mic drop there. We're not a Cinderella. This is not who we are. Don't put us in that category. We're just as good as the guys over there. We won this game. And they did. They won it outright. This was, you can call it a fluke in terms of a guy hitting 10 3-pointers. You can call it a fluke with, the team going 15 of 31 from behind the arc. So that's still 5 of 11 without Jack Golke. Still 5 of 11 from behind the arc. So you can call it fluky if you want to. They shoot 36% from 3, so it's not like they're a bad 3-point shooting team. And it's also not fluky from this standpoint. This is a common theme for John Calipari. Now, mind you, I've talked about the fact that Missouri passed up on Cal twice, and they made mistakes both times in passing up on him. They got an Elite Eight out of it with Mike Anderson. There was not as much interest during the post-Quinn Snyder hiring Mike Anderson as there was before hiring Quinn Snyder after Norm Stewart, when they, went with Quinn Snyder over Bill Self, and earlier in that process, letting John Calipari know he was no longer a candidate, and before Cal then took the Memphis job. So I would be perfectly fine if he was the Missouri head coach. Let me just get that straight. Okay, this is the difference in expectations. This is the differences in the program, where you think you should be, and how you view yourself as, whether it's a blue blood or just trying to establish some sort of a footing in college basketball. And Kansas has not had to worry about this with Bill Self because they're going to second weekends. They're going to Final Fours. They've won national championships with Bill Self in different decades. They've won Big 12s. They've won Big 12 tournaments along the way. It is not the same as what we're seeing with Kentucky and John Calipari. He went to 4 Final Fours in the first 6 years he was the coach at Kentucky. Won a national championship, played for another. In the first 6 years, it was unbelievable. It was white hot. It was a star shining as bright as you could possibly shine. And eventually, that star burns out. I don't know that, and I don't think he's burned out, but I think the run and the Calipari era at Kentucky is over. Since they went to the Elite Eight in 2019, they missed the tournament in 2021. They lost to St. Peter's in 2022. They lost to Kansas State last year. It was 6 seed. K-State was a 3 seed in the round of 32. And they lost this year to Oakland in the first round. They are 1-3 in the tournament with 2 first-round losses as a 2 seed and a 3 seed at Kentucky. Now remember, they ran out Tubby Smith for a reason. Well, let's be honest, a couple reasons. But 10 lost Tubby. Wasn't good enough in the tournament. He wasn't losing first-round games. Calipari is. I said it last night that if Kentucky still believes they're Kentucky, then they've got to make a move. They've got to do something. Mitch Barnhart has to step up and say, we are better as a program than what has been going on since 2015. Since the platoon, since the undefeated 38-0 heading to the Final Four, chance to be 40-0 undefeated season. Since then, there have been a couple of nice runs. There have been struggles through the season. There have been a lot of NBA players that, played at Kentucky. There are NBA All-Stars. There are a lot of things that Calipari's bragging about. There's the last night Calipari saying, yeah, I don't want to recruit older players because it's about helping these kids out. It's about helping the kids. Right, John. Right. The problem is his shtick isn't working anymore, and it's not working on the court, and it's not a surprise last night because Calipari is a panicker. It's what he does. He panics. In the Final Four, undefeated against Wisconsin, they had a lead. They started to lose the lead. He panicked. He can't get the train back on the tracks. And last night, whether panicking or not, his team was not prepared and ready to go. They played scared. And a college basketball coach with as much time as he's had in college basketball, with maybe the best offense in America, couldn't figure out a matchup zone. It was like a third grader being handed quantum physics. There were so many possessions last night where they just threw back and forth at the top of the key. Throwing back to the guard throws back to the other guy, throw back to the other guy, looking inside a little bit, throwing back. Like, what are you doing? No screens, no pick and rolls, no driving to the basket, no trying to create, nothing. If he knew what he was doing in terms of that, they would have come up with some sets to be able to go up against that. They didn't. He's a panicker. I think he's a good coach. I don't think he's a recruiter that rolls the ball out there because he's always been able to get teams to play really good defense. This team this year is not that. They are not that team. And he didn't adjust quick enough to Jack Golke hitting a ton of threes. They adjusted in the second half when they started, when Golke was coming around the screen, they would have the guy who was the screener pick up Jack Golke. They were double teaming him. It left some open shooters, but you take your chances with that. He hit, 3 threes in the second half? And they lose a close game. If you want to know the sound of a coach throwing his team under the bus, here's John Calipari before going to the podium in an interview with CBS. Here's John Calipari talking about the season, how it will be remembered, and, of course, that whole, there's a bus, let me put somebody else underneath it.
They shouldn't be in our team in the season defined by that game, but it will be. This is the profession we've chosen, and but, we had some guys that didn't play the way they'd been playing all year. We did everything we could. We knew the zone would be tough, but we missed shots. We don't miss. And, the preparation, I thought they were in a great, trying to keep them loose. But when the game started, you had some guys not play to the level they could play.
Look, our preparation was, the players, our preparation was great, damn it. I just want to say this. We prepared the hell out of these players. We did everything we could. We had guys just didn't play to the level that they're used to playing. They miss shots they don't typically miss. We prepared the hell out of these guys. Were loose and ready to go. Then the game started, and then all of a sudden they weren't ready anymore. They get tight in a game because you keep throwing out different lineups. Your 2 of your 3 best players don't start on your team because he wants to be smarter than the rest of the group. Now, the question has been, what do they do now? Do you fire John Calipari? If Kentucky still thinks they're Kentucky, you do that. Expectations are at a level, and it's why programs stay at a high level. Expectations at Kansas are so high that if you do not meet them, Jayhawk fans will come up with money or whatever and fire you and move on. Now, they've happened to have Roy Williams and Bill Self, so they haven't been in a position to where they've dealt with Tubby Smith and Billy Gillespie and then this run of John Calipari. So, understandable, it's different. They've made some really good choices in hiring coaches the last 2 times out. And they've got 2 national championships. Didn't happen with Roy, but it would have happened had he stayed at Kansas. I fully believe that. He would have won a national title at Kansas. He goes to North Carolina and wins a couple there. So they haven't been in a position to where you go, boy, the buyout is extreme. Is it worth it? And the question is, what is the reputation? And, Kyle Tucker from The Athletic used the word last night. What's the dignity of Kentucky's basketball program worth? Because this is embarrassing. It's been embarrassing. It's done. It's lost. It's over. The shine is gone from that run. But there's a $33 million buyout for John Calipari. It's not a lifetime contract. I know they called it that, whatever. There's a $33 million buyout. So people are going, well, you can't do that. You can't fire John Calipari with a $33 million buyout. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Kentucky basketball is SEC football.
Just ask Texas A&M football.
Dude, right. Texas A&M football is Kentucky basketball. If you're willing to spend that much money on Jimbo, $80 million buyout, then why couldn't Kentucky basketball spend $33 million? Again, it's different than, say, some Big 12 teams because the SEC is printing money. They're about to get more money with the TV network deals, and they're about to get more money with the college football playoff. You're telling me you can't afford a $33 million buyout? And by the way, it's not a one lump sum. This is where people get lost in the minutia, or at least get lost in the bigger number and don't view the details of it. Kevin Sumlin, when he was fired, his buyout was due within like 2 months. So they had to write him like a $20 million check. Jimbo Fisher has no offset language in his contract. So every single dollar that Jimbo Fisher was going to get in a buyout stayed his while also double dipping with other programs. John Calipari has neither of those. He's got an offset language in the contract, and it's due equal installments monthly until the end of his contract in 2029. That means you owe John Calipari $6 million a year over the next 5.5 years with an offset language. If John Calipari's fired, is he going to get a job somewhere? Is John Calipari going to retire from basketball, or is he going to get a job somewhere? And if he gets a job somewhere, is he going to be making $2 or $3 million per year? You're not hiring John Calipari to pay him $1 million. He's not working somewhere for $1 million. Let's just say it's $3 million. Let's say he takes a $7-8 million pay cut next year to go coach basketball somewhere. Again, you owe him $6 million for the next 5.5 years. If he's making $3 million somewhere, there's offset language. An SEC team that cares about their basketball can't afford $3 million a year for the next 5 years to go and find somebody else, to go and say, it was a line that Robert Kraft's son made. Obviously, that was about Aaron Hernandez, a little bit different. But he said, it's not necessarily about not being. We had to make a bleeping example. Like, we had to make an example. You can't continue. If you keep accepting what you've been getting, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting, if that makes sense. There's a saying that actually makes more sense that's better constructed than that, but you get the point. This whole $33 million, you can't afford it. Yeah, you can. It's the SEC. You can't brag about the money you print and then say, well, you know what, we can't afford that. Yeah, you can. The question would be, who do you go out and get? Hey, perfectly fine question. Who's out there, who's available to be better than what you have right now with John Calipari? I have no idea. But that's not my job. My job isn't to say, here's the next great guy. I can give you an opinion. Mitch Barnhart, 1, has to make the decision of whether or not he wants to make the move, and 2, whether or not he hires the right guy. He got it right with John Calipari. Now it's time to move on. If Kentucky believes they're Kentucky. Because once you start accepting that these things happen, or accepting, well, the money is such that, sorry, we just can't buy out another 2 years. Okay. Another 2 years of this, you start to accept mediocrity. You don't maintain your status and your level at the top of the game by accepting just being mediocre. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone on the other side of the break right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
games right yesterday.
Yes! All right.
My wife's got 140 points. She got 14 games right.
Sounds like she's
out of
smarter
16.
than you. This is
how you had 3 11 seeds win and a 14.
Right.
And neither of the popular upset picks, McNeese or Sanford, won.
Yep.
How'd you get 14 out of 16?
Yeah.
You big dummy?
This
I
is
call her a big dummy.
Right.
Loves that.
Well, what I've always said is picking your brackets is the way to show intelligence over other people. So if I want to know somebody's Wonderlic score as a quarterback, I just want to see what their bracket looked like that March. And if they had a great bracket, then I'll draft them. If not, then I think you're too dumb to be able to quarterback my team.
She actually thought the higher the number meant the better the team, right? 11 is bigger than 6. That means they're better.
They're a better team, yes.
And wait, all 3 won. All 3 11 seeds won yesterday, right? And the 11 seed today is favored, by the way.
Yeah, New Mexico.
I bet that's never happened. Has that ever happened? All 4 11 seeds? I doubt it. Even though at 6 to 11, they're all the same team.
I mean, you're not wrong about that.
At 5 to 12, that's when you begin to have upsets, but even those aren't huge. But 6 to 11, it's just the same.
Well, and all 4 11 seeds made the tournament by winning their conference tournament. All 4 11 seeds would be out of the tournament if they did not win their conference tournament. NC State went on the run that they went on. Oregon, we know they went on the run that they went on. Duquesne went on their run. And
who's the one today?
New Mexico.
That's right.
Over Clemson, 11-6. Went on their run and won their conference tournament. So, I mean, clearly those teams are carrying it over, whereas, we just talked about Kentucky losing their first game in the tournament. They also carried over what their conference tournament
you almost did.
Right? I mean, Sanford did what they could to come back and make that thing a game and make it incredibly nervous for KU fans. It's weird. Those games were back-to-back. I didn't feel like at any time in the second half that Kentucky was going to win, and I didn't feel at any point in the second half that Kansas was going to lose.
I didn't either. Even they cut it to 1, I think.
1, yeah.
89-88, something like that.
They cut it to 1, and DeJuan Harris came down and hit a little floater, and then they cut it to 1 a couple times.
You didn't think Kentucky was ever going to win?
That's right. No,
really?
I didn't.
Wow.
Second half,
I
didn't.
thought the whole time they were going to win.
I didn't think they were going to win in the second half.
You're so smart, I guess. I have to believe you on that, Jason.
No, I was texting with.
I never thought Duquesne was ever going to lose, as far as you know.
No, I didn't pick Duquesne. I picked BYU. Big believer, and I thought they would
pick Oakland.
No,
So at some point you thought Kentucky was going to win.
Yeah, I'm picking the brackets. I thought they were. I have them in the Final Four, so I'm smart. Clearly, I'm self-smart, is what I am. But it just watching him play.
Very smart.
Yeah,
KU would be self-smart.
Yeah, I like that. That's great. Yes, they looked nervous. Even in the second half, they looked like they were just trying not to make mistakes.
Kentucky, you talking about UK?
Kentucky was just trying not to make mistakes, and Oakland was playing with you know what? Let's go and have fun. This is great.
It's the most dangerous round.
This is basketball, and Golke's hitting threes, and other guys are stepping up and hitting threes, and it starts to become contagious. And Kentucky's making mistakes in the open floor. One of their stud freshmen misses a wide open dunk and gets blocked by the rim. A Sprite commercial. And I didn't feel that way with Kansas because Kansas was still getting easy buckets.
It was all about just taking care of the basketball and make sure Marco Jackson was not on the floor, basically.
They only turned the ball over 6 times in the second half. They had 12 turnovers in the first half, only 6 in the second half. And it's not like it was like, Kansas would
KU only had 6 in the second half?
Yeah. But it was
because that was a small, tiny team with no interest in playing half-court defense.
Yeah.
We're just gonna jump you in the backcourt, right? If you get a pass, and you have to, you're just going to lob to KJ all night long, and Hunter can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Yet still, the threes made a difference.
Yeah,
but
Sanford started hitting a bunch of threes.
A lot of that was on KU, just being dumb with the basketball.
Yeah, they started hitting a bunch of threes, and that happens, you know.
DeJuan Harris decided, I'm a three-point shooter. I'm just going to take a lot of these here in the second half.
But also then Nick Timberlake remembered he is one. He's like, oh, wait.
A little bit, yeah.
I'm a three-point shooter too. Isn't that? Maybe it was the level of competition. He's like, I know these guys.
Yeah.
Sanford, this is my kind of team.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go show why I average 17 points per game and hit 40-something% from 3. I'm gonna go drop 19 and hit 50% from 3 in this game. This is my competition level. I'm good to go now. Now they got Gonzaga coming up. But yeah, I didn't think that that KU was going to lose, even when they cut it to 1 2 different times. Sanford. Was that an obvious foul on the block by Sanford?
Crawled all over him. I mean, body, arm, hand, everything, obviously, right?
The wind that was generated from his body to Nick Timberlake's clearly adjusted it was kind of a body foul, just by proxy.
So that's so unique. And you were talking earlier about reviews. That would end up being like reviewing pass interference. Every single you can always find contact, right? You can always say, okay, we're gonna stick with this. That had no contact. That was a rarity of like there's just zero contact and you called a foul.
I don't know that I've ever seen a block like that to where not any part of your body.
I don't think there was even
any
a
part
finger on the hand or anything.
I've never seen anything like that. I mean, you can find contact in a lot of different things.
Yeah,
and
every
sort of create
time
it.
you're like, that's not a foul. Okay, there is some sort of contact, right? Or where's the no call? Okay, yeah, there was a lot of ball there, so you can say that was a clean block. It's always 40-60, 60-40, something like that. It's 100-0. It's 100-0.
Which is typically 100 times out of 100, that guy probably fouls him. In some way.
It's anticipation. Yeah. It's those guys flying through the air, running 20+ miles an hour, and the human eye, you can't always see it, and you're like, we probably got him, right? Especially the way Timberlake kind of grabbed onto the rim and he fell to the ground. That was all his momentum, right? And all the ball leaving his hand. It had nothing to do with the defender who did not touch him.
Where do you come down on the implement a challenge system with 2 minutes to go?
On that, man. Like, okay, we're already bitching and moaning about how long it takes to determine if a ball, who it got knocked out of bounds.
So the one thing has to happen before I will get on board with that. You have to be more expeditious with the replays that we have already before I will get on board with we should review some more things. Until we can, as people, as humans that can wear striped shirts, can look at a monitor and see what the rest of America has already decided, has already figured out, and it doesn't take you 3 more minutes to go over 7 different views. Until we can get past that, then I can't add more to it. Replay was not instituted so that you would take 5 minutes to go over one tiny part of it.
We've seen it in all sports. Football was that way, and they've made it faster. In the NFL, right? You have the ref up top who can just now they can just radio down and say, okay, no, that was he was out of bounds. Right, do this, let's go. That's a league with 32 teams. This is a level with 350.
That's right.
Right? You're just manpower. You're not going to be able to do that and expedite the process. So I don't know the result or the solution. Solution is probably, you know what? You live with it, right? Until we come up with a better way. But that what I'm saying is that play was so different than all the others. You can go back and review 99 out of 100 times. It's going to be like, you know what? I could still see there's a foul there, right? There was contact on the body, or right, he got him on the hand. Yada, yada, and they're going to stick with the call. It's going to be just like pass interference in football, which they never overturn.
That's right.
Except for calls. And so that's such a rare call that, no contact was made whatsoever, and they called a foul.
And some of those things that they've implemented are objective. So they can now go and review out-of-bounds plays under 2 minutes. Okay. You can review basket interference and goaltend in that time. Those are objective. Those are, for a fact, the ball was in the cylinder.
These are all going to be block charge, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be stuff at the rim. And by the way, first of all, KU fans, I went to KU, okay? And I wanted them to win last night, okay?
What?
Yes, me saying that was a horrible call at the end. I don't need to be inundated with your posts about, well, there were other calls in the game. I know how this goes. Yes.
Yeah, and we know how basketball games go.
And guess what? I tweeted about those calls that went against KU. I didn't like the 5'0" guy running and jumping into like DeJuan Harris and then like a bouncy ball just springing off and going to the ground. That's not an offensive foul on DeJuan. And these other they were getting fooled. There was that. One of the refs was really loving to call that charge, man. He was running, and he didn't know which way to point, man. The charge.
Oh, that's right. He went one way, and DeJuan Harris was like,
really
see?
Do this.
Yeah, and then he went the other way, and DeJuan, what? He was like, going that? Nope. Boom, going the other way.
And so I was complaining about that. I didn't understand how Brad Nessler didn't see that Timberlake got hammered on the arm going up for a dunk. Everybody's booing. Oh, that was clean. No, he got him on the arm.
That,
and so
that dunk,
it's funny when I was complaining about those on Twitter. Nobody was like, well, there are other calls that went against Samford.
You were right, though, on those.
Yeah, but I was wrong, I guess, on that. Or see, at least the other calls have to get brought up when I say that one went for the Jayhawks, right? I'm just like, it's tough. I mean, I'm the same way probably with my teams, but don't be a hypocrite.
Well, and I
look the same way. You can acknowledge like Oklahoma State OU Bedlam. We'll bring Todd in here. An unbelievably bad no call. Drake Stoops gets interfered, thrown out of bounds at the end of the biggest play of the game for Oklahoma. No flag. All right, let's move on. We're going to take this. That was a horrible call, but we're going to take the result.
Some things go in your favor. Some things don't. I can guarantee there's a team that would love to be arguing over a call that went their favor or not, and that is Kentucky. It's Nevada. It's I'm trying to think of some of the other close games yesterday that took place. Like Nevada blows a 17-point lead. And Dayton comes all the way back, and you get videos of the Dayton college kid crying in the bar. Yeah. He's so happy that they are moving on to the second round. He was like bawling while celebrating. And you know what? Good for him. And enjoy it. Have some fun. Drake. That one hurt. Yeah. I really, really. Washington State, go to hell. Because I wanted to see Drake versus Iowa State in Des Moines tomorrow. Or Omaha. Yeah. Maybe they have it in Des Moines. That'd be great. Yeah, it's only a couple of hours away. Same state. Oh, wait. Damn it. Not even the same state. I wanted to see Drake and Iowa State.
A literal home game for Drake.
That's what they just actually going to play it at a high school gym, so it's not a home game. You can't play a home game unless you're Dayton and you play in the first four. It's the only time you can play.
If Iowa State went to Des Moines and found a team that's actually closer than Ames to Des Moines, which is like half an hour.
That's right. But I wanted to see that game tomorrow in Omaha, and Drake was controlling that game. I bet they'd love to be complaining about a call that went their way and be like, oh, well, it happens. You win the game, you move on. And if KU goes and makes a run and goes to the Final Four, some people may remember that and look back. But there are plenty of times where do people remember that KU, I guess they'll remember it because it was Davidson and Steph Curry, but, getting by, Davidson in the Elite Eight. And winning by 2 and the ball in the air at the end of the game for a 3. Wasn't by Steph. But a ball in the air for 3. Which, by the way, pretty good job by Bill Self to make sure that Steph wouldn't shoot that shot.
Yeah, and or whoever the Davidson coach was making sure.
Yeah, Bob McKillop being smart.
Yeah, we're going to do whatever we can to get Steph open.
Yeah, that's right.
He's going to be regarded as the greatest shooter in the history of this game. No, you take it.
You take it. Everybody says nobody's going to see this coming.
It's like Jimmy Chitwood. At the end, they're like, all right, no, everybody's thinking, Jimmy, you're going to take it, and they all get up. Like, no, I'll make it. Steph should have said, I'll make it, like in Hoosiers.
I'll shoot the ball. I'll figure it out. But Calipari is like, should we stop that guy from shooting? I don't know. He's not going to make him anymore. I don't know. He eventually got around to it, but at least Bill Self was like, yeah, that guy's not shooting the ball. This last shot is not going to be him. I don't care if we quadruple team him. He ain't shooting the ball. Somebody else is going to shoot the ball.
They needed to figure that out on a couple dudes last night. That's 16 threes or whatever it was, 17.
There were a lot of them. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour. Coming up at 1 o'clock, we will eliminate some of the sound in the bracket of sound with 16 teams losing yesterday. And so we will play those bites coming up on the other side of the break. More Zone next. Get into a little Rawls baseball, as they have announced who their fifth starter is going to be, and it is unexpected. There have been a couple of unexpected moves that the Royals have made this spring training, which I think continues a theme of viewing the decisions they have been making of how it's different than the previous regime. So we'll talk about that as well before the show is over. Hanging out with Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. We'll get some live listen-ins. If a game is coming down to the end, Northwestern is kind of controlling this game. They're up by 9 over FAU right now with 7 minutes to play. More Zone next.
since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director, hanging out with us here for the final hour of the show. We got our bracket of sound that we continue to play the teams that ended up losing, teams that are eliminated, and we'll figure out who the champion of the bracket of sound is going to be.
I'm going to count the ones that I'm going to miss.
Okay, very good.
Let's see which ones I'm okay with leaving and ones that, you know what, I'm going to miss the ride. What a ride we had together.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes. WKU is up 5-2 early on Marquette. Stop the count. Call it a game. Why are you still playing this game? Why are you playing even more? Well, stop it.
Stop playing. On Northwestern, too.
No, I need Florida Atlantic to win that game.
Northwestern, they have one all-time win. Is that right? Or they never got to that Sweet 16 that one year, right?
No.
Several years ago.
They got that one win
Nebraska,
with the kid
later
crying.
on today, is looking for it, right?
There it is. Can Nebraska get the one win?
Can any Nebraska team beat Texas A&M in basketball this weekend, men's or women's? And
right.
can the athletic department know they already lost to A&M?
Yeah.
Trev Alberts.
Who knows? 913-912-4810. Okay, let's go through the bracket of sound. Let's start in the Midwest region, which is the Angan-Briscoe region. And let's just go from the Tennessee Volunteers, who are the 2 seed, knocked off St. Peter's. No Cinderella, run 2 years later for St. Peter's after making that Elite Eight a couple of years ago. No run for them, but Tennessee moves on, and that means St. Peter's, the number 15 seed, is out, and we've lost this sound.
But not big on hand washing.
No, I do wash my hands, but I'm not. You did a good, thorough, real deep dive into washing your hands. I'm more of a
first time I've ever been chastised
hand
for
washing nerd.
my hands.
I'm not
too well.
I'm more of a splash and go. I'll say that. That's me. Can you remember the last day you didn't shower?
Oh,
I can't.
No.
Today for me. I'm just kidding.
Thanks, Kay.
Yeah, no,
I can't even.
That's not true.
So the Niners would like to wash themselves of that loss. Huh?
Well, I'm sure they would.
They'd like to scrub that one, wouldn't they?
Just imagine if you.
I mean, they'd scrub that harder than you'd scrub your hands. Let's be honest.
The 15 seed St. Peter's is out in that region. The 7-10 matchup, which was Texas and Colorado State. Texas moves on. Colorado State has lost, and so we have lost the 10 seed and this sound. What's going on? Where am I going? What is this
You were
place?
so scared that you don't even remember it.
Being born.
I mean, it was
Put
just
it out of your memory.
Where am I? Who are you?
Put me back in.
I don't know what's going on. Why are you cutting this? Leave that alone. I can't move. What's going on? I gotta poop. Colorado State losing, lost that sound. Texas
I'm
moving
not
on.
gonna miss that one. I don't like the ones with me in them.
Oh, really?
Or are you talking about being born?
Being born. Cutting that can be traumatic, I would guess. The 6-11 matchup. Boy, the 11s were on fire yesterday. The 6-11 matchup. The 11 seed Oregon Ducks move on. South Carolina ends up losing, and because of that, we have lost this sound for South Carolina.
Now the 3-2 swung on, a pop foul back here. Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
You didn't know it was coming back right to you, John.
It's 2 I'm going to miss.
That is South Carolina. South Carolina is out. Creighton, the Blue Jays knocked off Akron, the 14 seed. So the 14 seed Akron has been eliminated, and this sound is gone.
Year 2, it's cotton, but China is also acceptable.
Yes.
Year 3, it's leather.
What year is wood? There's a year where you're just supposed to give each other wood.
Year 5.
So, yeah, year 5, it's exchanging of wood.
Long game.
Still 2 I'm missing.
Yeah, it's That one's gone. Akron and Creighton. We also had a couple of expected upsets that did not materialize in this particular region. The 5-12 and the 4-13 little 2-game tournament. Gonzaga and McNeese, the 5-seed Gonzaga, they are moving on. McNeese, the 12-seed, has been eliminated with what a day at the Kentucky Derby's like. It's like a Friday in college on a date. It's like a lot of buildup. You get dressed up. You spend a lot of money. You go through the whole night in anticipation of one thing, and it's over in 2 minutes.
Bang. Just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that?
Just like that. It's a quick race. All right, it's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports.
I'm going to miss that one.
A lot of anticipation.
As I learned yesterday, I've been to the Kentucky Derby a lot.
Yep, absolutely. Kansas, Samford, they faced off last night, and KU and Samford. KU wins the 13 seed. Samford is eliminated, and so is this sound.
Adam, I think the world of you, but you're a dumbass.
Dang it. That real bad Final Four petition.
They are out. Those are the games in the Angon-Briscoe region. Let's go to a Fat Bear Week region if we can, Dylan. The Fat Bear Week that had the 1 seed and the 2 seed both playing in their little pods. So we start in the Fat Bear Week. Let's start with the 1 seed, which ended up moving on. North Carolina won. And that meant that the 16 seed, Wagner, Howard? I can't remember. Whichever one. Wagner, that's right. Wagner ends up losing, and this sound is gone.
I have a purple thong on. How about that, K-State fans?
Yeah. Are you going to miss that one?
No.
You won't miss the purple thong?
Shouldn't even made the field, right? Didn't even win. That win a tournament? That's the only way. They're like a
500 team.
500 team that won the tournament.
That's right. Like 16 and 15 on the season. The 8-9 matchup. Mississippi State, the 8 seed, ends up losing. Michigan State moves on. That means we lost the 8 seed Mississippi State and this sound.
That's not Legarius' fault. It's just the reality.
At least for Legarius' snake.
I think the best part of that is that I have made a mistake.
He was also talking about Chris Jones. That's what he's talking about. He wanted to talk about Chris Jones' snake.
Whoops. Daisy. So that one is gone. Michigan State moves on. That, by the way, won its conference tournament because that was a late entry. That was Friday before the conference tournament started. All right, down to the 2 seed, the bottom part of the Fat Bear bracket in the West, Fat Bear region in the West. The 2 seed, it is Arizona. They survived Long Beach State. Long Beach State has been eliminated, and that is this sound.
Hey guys, I got a quick phone call. Connor Stallion's beeping in right here. I'm trying to get a few signals here, so I gotta go. But as soon as we get done, look forward to competing against Ryan Day, and we'll go from there.
Gotta love it.
We appreciate how bold that was. I mean, right on live television, he makes fun of the biggest controversy in college football in years.
Getting ready to play the team that was complaining about it with Michigan in the bowl game. They're gone. The 7-10 game was Dayton and Nevada. Boy, Nevada was so close to moving on, but they did not move on. Dayton won, and so the 10 seed Nevada is out along with this sound.
Well, I checked the biggest box. For me personally, just to be, part of the family. I get to sit at the big person's table now. That feels really good.
There you go, Jim Harbaugh, and he is losing. They lost. They won the national championship, but ended up losing in the tournament. Let's go to the In My Swifty era region, if we can. To the In My Swifty era region, the 2 seed, it was Iowa State. They took care of South Dakota State, and Iowa State winning, South Dakota State losing, South Dakota State out along with this piece of sound.
Name a non-electronic item that you might buy for back-to-school shopping.
Wow, as a guy who has no kids and hasn't been to school in 40 years,
but you went to school for several years.
I did. It was a different time then. I will say, criminy.
I need an answer.
drugs.
Typically, that's not something you would take with after back to school drugs. That's typically the after school special of what not to do.
A curse from Raytown? Curse from Raytown.
I think so. I think that has been confirmed. It's not what you want to take. The 2 seed moving on. And so we look at the 7-10 matchup in my Swifty era region. The 7 seed Washington State. They end up knocking off the 10 seed Drake. That sucks. 10 seed Drake. They are eliminated, and so is this sound. We actually took the cake, made it into muffins, so it baked faster.
And it's still delicious.
Very delicious and moist on the inside.
We might just be licking the beaters.
I'm going to miss that one.
Just mark yourself, Drake.
Drake is out, and so is that piece of sound from Drake, and that is one that we will miss. And we don't get the matchup of Iowa State and Drake tomorrow, which is very disappointing. The 3 and 14 seeds matched up in the My Swifty era region. The 3 seed Illinois taking on Moorhead, and Moorhead State lost, and we lost this sound.
Acknowledging right off the jump that I'm fading Dick in a contrarian way.
So we've lost Moorhead. Whoa. And that piece of sound as well.
It fit with Moorhead.
Yes, it did. The 6-11 matchup. 6 seed BYU, 11 seed DeQuesne. Duquesne moved on. The 6 seed and BYU are eliminated, and that is this sound that is now gone.
When you hear that word, so what do you think in the NFL now of parody?
What do I think of parody in the NFL?
Or Paradise Nuts?
These nuts. Got him. Got him.
Got him, Jake.
Got me.
I'm done now.
I did. I walked right into that.
There you go. Paradise Nuts has been eliminated in BYU.
There are like out of bounds reviews that don't last as long as Nate's laugh,
which is great. Over to the Wrong Mother Bleeper region, right? Wrong Mother Bleeper region, because there are only 2 games left of what took place in the first round of the tournament. Wrong Mother Bleeper region. We start off with the 3 seed. It is the Kentucky Wildcats. We know they did not win. They lost to Oakland. So Oakland is moving on. The number 3 seed, Kentucky, is out. So is this sound.
This is far and away the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has had, right? I mean, is it possible that they could ride the D? The defense?
Okay.
6 I'm going to miss.
Okay. Now that we're on the right path of
the defense
phrasing. The 6-11 matchup, Texas Tech and North Carolina State. North Carolina State advances over Texas Tech, and that means we lost this sound.
Hey, he's our closer. We got to get him to the bullpen to warm up. How are you going to do that?
I don't think they're going to make an exception for him as you're going to get because you're Ohtani. You get to get as many pitches as you need on the mound.
No, did he even do it?
You would. It's not going to be one of those things like he's going to get dry humped where he gets up and doesn't get in the game. But
explain that. Explain that to our audience.
Sorry,
Drake just stuck his finger in his eye in there. We need to find out what this references to.
When you get up in the bullpen and you do not end up getting put into the game. Here's what the back of your baseball card says on how many times that you pitched in a game, but it doesn't count how many times you had gotten dry humped.
I'd start collecting cards again.
Why is that pitcher throwing blue balls?
I don't.
There you go. That sound is gone, eliminated. Hey, let's do a listen in right now as Northwestern and Florida Atlantic with a minute to play here in the game, and they are tied.
In the second half, Northwestern was up 56-52. Northwestern had the basketball, but what a series of events. The flagrant one, multiple missed shots that were down and out for Northwestern, and here you go. FAU is taking the lead.
So FAU, right as we went there, FAU scored a bucket. John L. Davis drove to the basket. They now lead. They've gone on a 14-2 run. There's 56 seconds left. Northwestern called a timeout, and they have the ball with about a minute to go. What was that?
Northwestern was in control of this
game. They've been control
and then they
the entire
reviewed,
game.
with about 3 minutes left, they reviewed this flagrant one, an accidental elbow on a box out. Golden, I remember all these guys were playing K-State last year,
That's right,
Making the Final Four. He goes to the line, makes 2 free throws, and as you heard there, Northwestern missed a couple shots, and they made more free throws. Now they have the lead 58-56. FAU does.
Yes. Let's listen in.
Pick out your shot. That's where Northwestern's been at their best. Also applying physicality down low. They've gotten away from it a little bit. Yes, Boo Booey's gotten some shots, but their movement and their connectedness, I should say, is really what got them the lead.
Whether you're looking for style inspiration or on-trend pieces, turn any space into your happy place with Ashley. Shop Ashley's anniversary sale in-store or online today.
Flex it, and then it tips off like an offensive guy's hand and goes back court, that it's not over and back. I thought they instituted that in.
The question would be, though, Boo Booey, as he was going back and the ball was loose, looked like he picked it up.
He definitely tried with 2 hands to
get it. And then his leg hit it.
He never possessed it again.
Then his leg hit it and went back
I'm fine
court.
with that being over and back.
Shocking, that's not a reviewable play.
How's that not reviewable? I mean,
everything's reviewable. That seems to be like an out of bounds, right?
Listen, it's objective if it goes over the lines that surround the court, the baselines and the sidelines. But that middle line, that can't be black and white.
Even though that
right?
has become another out of bounds, it's now you've now been boxed
treated that
in.
as an out of bounds.
That is an out of bounds. You cannot step on that line, go over that line. The ball can't bounce off that line. Let's go back out there as FAU is up 58-56.
I don't want to go back a possession. What in the world just happened? A turnover and a backcourt violation, a pretty quick timeout.
Florida Atlantic got the ball, called a timeout pretty quickly, and there were 7 seconds on the shot clock. They went over to their benches on a timeout. They came back out. The shot clock still says 7. And then Florida Atlantic had to drive and force a shot. Looks like it's out of bounds on Florida Atlantic, Northwestern's ball. But that's what they're talking about and discussing is to...
Can they go back and say, no, we're going to redo this whole thing?
It was a change of possession that took place there, and they kept the shot clock the same as if Northwestern would have had the ball. Let's go ahead and listen back in again.
I think they were saying Brian Greenlee touched the ball while he was out of bounds.
Greenlee of Florida Atlantic.
Yes.
Another lengthy review here in the second half Again, if you're joining us late, FAU at a 20-19.
Contact, he didn't earn that call.
But you've got the biggest player on the floor in Golden. So even if you have an offensive rebound, maybe he gets the ball back. If not, there's like 3 seconds, 2 seconds, or whatever, and Northwestern would have to go the length of the floor to win the game. Instead, you just settled for a three, and it was blocked. It was a great defensive play. You're not going to get bailed out by that. There was way more contact on the other end that wasn't called when Northwestern had the ball. That could have been called fouls. Like, that's just embarrassing by John L. Davis, and I apologize. He's on my player pool, so that's why. I apologize to all FAU fans once I drafted him that they were screwed. But we have an overtime game in the NCAA tournament. We had one in the first four. We had an overtime game with the 16 seeds, Wagner and Howard playing, and now we have another overtime game. We have Marquette leading Western Kentucky 22-17 with 10 minutes to go in the first half. WKU hanging strong. and honestly not playing all that well, at least in the quick little glances that I've been able to look over there. They've turned the ball over a number of times already. They've been and Marquette's had some runouts, but now Marquette's up 25-17 after another live ball turnover. But Northwestern, by the way, has also just been running some really good offense. Like they were struggling to score at times late, but they had a stretch of about 5 or 6 minutes to where they were just running some brilliant offense. Yeah, John L. Davis, the clock got down to 2 before he actually started to make a move. And all he did was take one dribble to his left and then pulled up from 3. Oh, great defense.
No contact.
Great defense. That was a clean block. I'm surprised they didn't blow the whistle there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure everybody in Evanston and Boca Raton are completely fine with what's transpired here and all those reviews and all those calls this last minute of the game.
I mean, FAU got the ball on an over and back, a turnover by Northwestern. For whatever reason, the shot clock was not reset for FAU. So they got the ball with like 18 seconds with the shot clock because that was the shot clock for Northwestern. The officials did not catch it. FAU called a timeout.
Even after the timeout, they didn't catch it.
Didn't catch it.
It was 7 at that
point. They came out of a timeout with 7 seconds on the shot clock when there should have been 19 seconds on the shot clock.
Should have been 19, right? Started at 18, yeah.
And
11,
so
transpired,
they go and they have a play. John L. Davis forces a shot up because he's late in the shot clock. The ball bounces around. It gets near the baseline. The official blows the play dead because FAU player is out of bounds.
But then they call it jump ball because they couldn't determine who.
Because they went to the monitor, which is a surprise. So they went to the monitor to see who the ball was out of bounds on. Nobody actually stepped out of bounds. Nobody was out of bounds. The ball was loose.
Yep.
Nobody actually stepped out of bounds, so they had to call it an inadvertent whistle.
And it would have been Northwestern's ball.
Yeah, so they had to call it an inadvertent whistle, and therefore it goes to a jump ball possession, which FAU had the ball.
Then they got fouled, and he missed the free throw. And they wanted a review on the kid kind of swiping Golden's head, the hair a little bit.
Yeah, he went for the ball and hit the back of his head, and they were like, well, they should review that. I'm like, oh, come on.
Please don't.
But Northwestern has made the first 2 baskets in overtime so far. And FAU is going to the free throw line. So this has been a ref show, to say the least, at the end of this game, to go along with the most recent game we watched last night at the end of that game, which there was only 1 missed call in the entire game last night.
That was it. Nothing else.
Apparently, that's what people think if you say that was a bad call.
Doesn't matter what you said before on earlier calls. Just if you say
I'm just glad that people have reminded me that there are other calls throughout the game that have been bad calls, because if they hadn't told me that when I'm talking about the call that everybody's talking about, then I would have forgotten, because that's the only part of the game that I watched. I watched the last 30 seconds or so, and boy, did Samford get a bad whistle.
I turned it on right before the block. I turned it on right after. Or turned off right after.
That's literally
right
the
after.
only
That's
part
the
of the
only play I saw.
I'm assuming Timberlake hit the free throws because they won by 3, or they won by 4. So did he hit 3? I didn't watch it. Doesn't matter. Did not watch it. Does not matter. Should we take a timeout? Let's do that right now. We'll take a timeout, come back, and
this game.
We'll get to the another live listen-in if we can for this Northwestern and FAU game. More Zone coming up next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Dylan Michaels, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Northwestern is up 11 in overtime.
A lot has happened. For one team, a lot has happened in overtime.
Yeah, there is no reason to do a live listen-in for this game, and FAU just traveled and turned it over. Like, just a simple, you're coming to a jump stop, and he took 3 steps. And he wasn't even dribbling that fast. He was just dribbling into the lane. 1, 2, 3, 4. He took 4 steps. He was dribbling to the lane and just went and
they don't
picked
like
up the
to
ball.
call traveling, but they will with 4 steps.
He took 4 steps. FAU had a 2-point lead with 13 seconds to go, and they were shooting the front end of a 1-and-1 to make it a 4-point game. They missed the front end of the 1-and-1, and then Northwestern came down and tied the game. And with about 6 seconds to go, and then John L. Davis for FAU decided with 5 seconds left he was just going to dribble near half court and just dribble and dribble and dribble and dribble. And then with about 2 seconds left, he took a dribble to his left and took an NBA 3 that ended up getting partially blocked. So a real brilliant move on his part. So they missed the front end of a 1-and-1, and they decide that NBA 3 is the best course of action for them. And now in overtime, they have literally not gotten one stop. Northwestern has scored on every single offensive possession.
I've never seen you this worked up. The Chiefs lost the Super Bowl, and you weren't this animated.
Just like bad basketball gets annoying to me. If I care, if I've got like some sort of skin in the game, because I watched a lot of bad basketball with Missouri this year. But
what if Northwestern was playing bad in the overtime and FAU was winning by 11?
Then bad basketball I'm fine with.
Fine,
because then it would be good basketball with FAU.
You should have drafted all the Northwestern players for your offensive pool for your deal. Yeah,
really, the only game I care about that's going on right now is Marquette and Western Kentucky. Marquette's up by 6 on WKU. News out of the Royals, and how about this for showing it's a little bit different than the previous regime? Jordan Lyles is making $8.5 million this year.
Okay,
that has to be brought up because a couple of years ago, is there any chance Jordan Lyles would not be one of the 5 starters on this team, making almost $9 million per year?
How about last year?
Yeah, to start the season. Yeah. Exactly right. But they went out and signed him, so it was like, okay, you sign him to a contract. We brought him in to be a starter. He might have some struggles in spring training, but he's going to be one of our starters. He's going to be an innings eater. In fact, we should have him pitch opening day.
Yeah,
he's that good. This year, Jordan Lyles is now in the bullpen. And Alec Marsh has made the rotation as the 5th starter. And Jordan Lyles is making $8.5 million. And they said, too bad. Go to the bullpen. You're not guaranteed a spot just because you're making a lot of money on this team. You're out of the bullpen, which they ate the contract on Hunter Dozier. And now they have moved a $9 million pitcher to the bullpen so that Alec Marsh, who has earned it, who they feel like came in and played baseball and pitched the way they wanted to see and earned his spot on the roster, that now he's the 5th starter. I love the message. I love the Royals that are essentially saying the money you're not winning a spot because of money. You're winning a spot because you've earned it, and no spot is guaranteed. Matt Quatraro said that at the beginning of spring training. Hey, no spot's guaranteed. Well, Bobby Witt and some of those sort of things are sort of understood and inferred. But clearly this one is for real, that Jordan Lyles, your spot wasn't guaranteed.
I'm thrilled that he's not the 5th starter for those exact reasons. And everybody listed out the projected rotation this year. And after the 4th starter, I'm like, I'm good. And let's just open that up.
Yeah.
And I feel like there were probably 3 or 4 pitchers that were going to be better candidates for the rotation. I love it that it's a drafted guy. What a 2nd-round pick from 19 draft, something like that. So a homegrown guy that had some good moments last year when he came up. And so I love it. Let's go young. Let's go young. And it's funny. What was that? Singer and those guys, were they the 18 draft? What draft were they?
2018.
18. And so you have guys they're leapfrogging, like not necessarily Singer, but Lynch and Kowar.
Yeah.
And it's time. It's time. But you don't have to hang your hat on that pitching draft anymore at all. And that one that just kind of hasn't hasn't developed, right? Hasn't come to fruition.
Yeah, the one guy out of that draft that's on this roster is Brady Singer. Jackson
Bubic,
Kowars.
we'll see if he
Bubic
comes
had Tommy
back,
John last year. Jackson Kowars having Tommy John this year for a different team. And
Lynch
Daniel
just
Lynch
got
optioned.
Yeah.
That's right. And Brady Singer's in there. So it's that's typically the numbers, though. If you've got those 4 pitchers, if one of them turns out to be a middle of the rotation starter, that's probably take that. Yeah. You can get somebody out of the bullpen, a middle of the rotation starter.
I had higher expectations from those 4.
Well, I think people had higher expectations, but if historically looking at what it ends up being, that's probably all you could have expected in terms of looking at just the numbers of the whole thing.
Because 3 were basically first-round picks, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 of them were in the
sandwich round.
compensatory rounds, yeah.
Yep, 3 of them. So you had all 4 of them were sandwich round and first round with Kowar, Lynch, Bubic, and Singer. Not in that particular order, obviously, but the highest drafted one is the one that ended up turning out to be the guy that belongs in a rotation as the third starter.
Yeah,
fourth starter on this team.
He could,
even if it's the 4th starter, think about that. Last year we're talking about Brady Singer. Is he going to be the ace of this squad? Can he take another step forward? And now he's the 4th starter, and you're like, oh, you feel pretty good, 4th starter. By the way, Western Kentucky has now taken the lead on Marquette. They're up 32-31.
Let's go, Toppers!
With 4.5 minutes to go. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. We got the cuts. Hey, new cuts. Maybe these make it into the bracket of sound next year. We got the cuts from the last couple of weeks. More Zone coming up next. what they've done in this first half. They were down 10. They're now up 6. So
hit me back in like 45 minutes, if you don't mind. Let me know.
We'll circle back around after the first of the year. We circle back around after New Year's. Let's circle back around after New Year's. One of the the best tweets I saw, somebody on like January 2nd said, "Oh crap, everybody's circling back around now." All right, let's get some cuts on the show before we are done. Here's what happened this week, maybe even a little bit of last week. We'll find out. Go right ahead, Dylan.
The world needs you now more than ever.
I tell you what, I might call in when Sherm's on tomorrow. We'll just double team and blast you.
What?
There we go.
Boddicker, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but phrasing, son. Phrasing. I don't know why I called Boddicker son there. I'm not sure. That's odd.
Should have called him Dad?
I don't know.
Or
like
Daddy?
he would call me
You
son.
should have said
Bud, maybe?
Phrasing there, Daddy.
Bud.
Come on, Daddy.
Brother, friend. I'm not sure. Phrasing. What else?
Dustin has tweeted in about the nut fry. You all don't know what you're missing. As long as you don't think about what you're putting in your mouth, it's a delicacy.
Yep. You know what? You have to tell yourself that a lot of times in life, don't you?
I don't. That's Nate Bukaty, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Thank God that show's on the air. We get so many.
I know, it's great.
Do they say anything else? Or is it just? I mean,
I don't know.
stuff like
I only listen to mark things. That's all I listen for. I'm not sure. What else?
Oklahoma men's basketball is going to run through this league like a hot knife through butter.
Go to the tournament.
Oh, they're going to be in the finals, guaranteed.
Oh, bold.
I've been drinking this morning.
Was that the tournament they didn't make? He's talking about, or was he talking about the Big 12?
That was last week. Was Big 12, and he had been drinking. WK is up 8 now with 1:45 to play. What else?
In the first half.
I gave him the ding ding. I gave him the correct answer.
What did you give him?
Boy, I caught myself there. I really did.
No, you didn't, actually.
No, I didn't.
You did not. That's an early entry already for next year's Bracket of Sound.
Got to wait a year
good.
for it. Thank God. I'm not a high volume shooter, and I still managed to wind up in here.
That's true. WKU with 1:20 to play is up 10. 43-33. I know I'll still hit you back in 45 minutes, Mick, but they were down 10. They're now up 10. Okay. WKU over Marquette with 1:20 to play in the first half. The 15 seed trying to pull off the 2 seed. As I said, when they were down 10, I'm like, they're not playing well.
No.
Now they're playing well. They're hitting some shots. They play so fast. They turn other teams over. It's fun. They shoot threes. All right, what else, Dylan?
We've played this before. I just got to hear it again.
Okay.
Oh, no!
That's a great call.
Which game was that?
That was the it was a buzzer beater.
Yeah.
I can't remember which buzzer beater it was.
I'm picturing the game, right?
I can picture the side of the court and the ball going in. I can picture all of those things, but I cannot picture the teams that are out there. What else is going on? Is it nice doing all the prep in the Raiders facility?
Yeah, I mean it's cool to come out to Arrowhead West and get it done.
Went back a little bit. That one did not make the Bracket of Sound, by the way.
Who was that?
That was MVS.
Oh, okay.
He will be missed.
The playoffs, maybe.
Yeah, that's he had some great games in the playoffs. All right, that'll do it here for a Friday edition.
Friday.
Man, I almost said Wednesday. This week has been all over the place because we've got games and we've got play-in games. Mick Schaefer, early on Wednesday, you came and hung out with us.
I'm fun and flexible, if nothing else. FAF.
Trying to get more entries into the Bracket of Sound next year is Mick Schaefer. Yeah. So there you go. Northwestern has knocked off Florida Atlantic in overtime. The 9 seed has moved on over the 8 seed. That is 2 of the 9s. Both 9 seeds that have played so far have won against 8 seeds. So there you go. But Northwestern in overtime got the win. And as it stands right now, Western Kentucky has a 9-point lead on Marquette with just under 5 seconds to go. So it is a 7-point lead at halftime. Program next.